Je me rappelle, en 2013, c'était comme mon pic dans la boxe. J'avais trois victoires cette année-là, 3 knockouts, j'étais champion canadien, j'avais des gros commanditaires. Puis là, tout d'un coup, bang, 5 ans plus tard, j'étais à la retraite, j'étais plus un boxeur professionnel. Puis moi, je m'identifiais beaucoup à ça. C'est comme j'avais fait construire ma confiance, construire mon identité avec ça. Puis là, j'étais comme, pour moi, j'étais plus rien. J'étais vraiment une merde. Je m'appelle Éric Martel Baweli, j'ai 43 ans et j'habite à Québec. Je me suis rendu compte en faisant une dépression, puis en pensant, en ayant toujours des idées noires, puis en voulant s'enlever la vie, c'est là que tu te rends compte que dans le fond, t'es malade. Un de mes amis m'a écrit, puis il me dit tu voudrais être dans mon équipe de Movember. Et lui, il savait que j'avais eu des difficultés, mais ils savent que je parle de la dépression, tout ça, donc ils savent que ça me touche. C'est là que j'ai dit, ok, ouais, c'est clair que ça, c'est une cause qui me touche. Pas juste un peu, là, ça me touche entièrement, là. L'image que tu veux projeter aux gens, c'est d'être le boxeur poids lourd qui était champion canadien, puis qui est solide, tout ça. Puis que même s'il se fait knocker, il se relève, puis il continue. Mais là, c'est pas juste un combat de boxe, là, c'est ma vie, là. Là, en ce moment, oui, j'étais peut-être à terre, mais c'est qu'est-ce qu'il faut que je fasse pour me relever, pour monter la pente. C'est comme si j'étais plus la même personne. J'étais rendu dans une roue qui tourne, dans un cercle vicieux. J'étais beaucoup isolé, mais ça faisait en sorte que je voyais pas la lumière au bout du tunnel. Pour moi, je dis toujours win the day, tu sais, gagne chaque journée. Tu sais, chaque jour, quand tu réussis, puis tu te couches, puis t'es heureux, puis t'es fier de ce que t'as accompli, mais ça te donne confiance. Fait qu'aujourd'hui, juste de vous parler aujourd'hui, pour moi, c'est une victoire. Qu'est-ce qui fait en sorte que justement, tu es capable de passer à travers les tempêtes et les intempéries? Mais c'est parce que tu es fort, tu es fait fort. Mais c'est pas juste une question physique, c'est une question mentale aussi. Je savais que j'allais plus boxer, mais qu'est-ce qui m'intéresse, c'est de me retrouver des nouvelles passions. C'est à ce moment-là aussi que j'ai commencé la course à pied. Puis la course à pied, c'est devenu une passion, une nouvelle passion, quelque chose qui me motivait à me lever le matin, à dire « Ok, je commence ma journée avec une course. » Par la suite, en ayant fait ça, j'ai rencontré une femme formidable avec qui j'ai bâti une famille, que j'ai maintenant une maison, tout ça, puis vraiment d'avoir une magnifique petite fille qui est en pleine santé, ça n'a pas de prix. Puis aujourd'hui, je me dis, je vais vivre jusqu'à 100 ans Donc, c'est mon défi, si je peux dire ça comme ça, de vivre jusqu'à 100 ans, mais en ayant toute ma tête et toutes mes capacités, là, le plus possible. Avant, c'est comme si j'étais toujours focus sur vouloir devenir champion du monde. Mais dans le fond, je prenais pas soin de moi réellement. Mais aujourd'hui, ma priorité, c'est ma santé physique et mentale. Puis, le fait de pouvoir réussir à chaque jour, d'être une meilleure personne, mais ça m'amène à réussir dans les autres sphères de ma vie également. Puis surtout d'être heureux, puis d'être bien. C'est ça le plus important. Mohamed Ali disait « Aider les autres pour s'aider soi-même ». Donc j'ai l'impression que plus que j'aide les autres, plus que je m'implique dans des trucs comme Movember, mais plus que je m'aide aussi moi-même.
Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night wherever in the world you are. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. Today I've cooked up a little bit of a devious list that might or might not be able to win on turn 1. Not effectively turn 1, but technically turn 1. As you can see, I made a notation here. I'm gonna hide that for now. It will make sense in the end, don't worry. It will make sense eventually. First and foremost, hope everyone's doing well. Please take a sip of water, hydrate if you need to. I literally hydrated whilst watching the Movember video. So please consider hydrating as well. You know what? I'm gonna take another sip of water because self-care is very important. Alright. So first and foremost, before getting into the deck, I do want to say we are still raising money for Movember, of course. Please do consider donating if you can. If you don't want to, or you don't have the resources to do so, that's completely fine. Because the main goal of this campaign is to raise awareness for men's mental and physical health, especially. So if I achieve that, I'm already more than happy. I'm already pretty happy with the money we've raised so far. I would go as far as to say like $19 is not nothing, you know. So just want to say that I'm incredibly grateful for everyone. There are some pretty cool fun incentives that we can get into if we reach like the $25 or whatever. Having said that, I should probably open the dono page so I can actually read donation messages, because I'm pretty sure I'm not sure if the text-to-speech function is functioning, but I'll have it open here, just so I can also easily check what my milestones and incentives are. Whoopsie. Yeah, okay, so we do have that I'm making a tier list out of every single format in Pokemon TCG. And of course, if you get any amount, if you donate any amount of money, I'll just spin the raid wheel or I won't spin a wheel. What is it? I'll rate a Pokemon of your choice. I spun a wheel last year. That's what the main difference here was. All right. Should we get into the deck idea? Should we? We probably should. So, you might have seen some double Dialga action. I guess I should probably show the Dialgas first, if I'm gonna be honest. This is a little bit of a Donkaroni strategy, if I'm gonna be honest. So please do not be surprised by the involvedness of everything here. Please don't. Anyway, I'll read out the relevant Dialgas for here. There's a Dialga GX, which is a basic Pokemon. On 180 HP, that all doesn't matter. What matters is a timeless GX attack for 5 energy, of which 3 are metal. You do 150 damage, and you take another turn after this one. And then there's also Origin Form Dialga V-Star, which is technically a stage 1 Pokemon, 280 HP, but the V-Star power it has is Star Chronos for 5 energy again, but 4 of them have to be metal. You do 220 damage, and you take another turn after this one. Since you can use both one GX attack and one V-Star power per game, we can effectively turn skip our opponent twice. And with this build that I have here, we can do this as early as turn 1. Meaning that when combined with the play that I have in mind for the turn 3, pseudo turn 3, still turn 1, we can practically donk most opponents. If we draw well, of course, this is like kind of a combo deck. It's kind of a donk deck, but more or less a combo deck, which can technically combo turn 1. These are 2 most important pieces. I run 1 Dialga GX and then a 1-2 line of Dialga V, Dialga V-Star. We are running heavy, we are running some Hisuian heavy ball, so it's not that weird that we're running a low amount of both of the basics. Getting the evolutions is a lot harder than the basics if they're in prizes. So that's why I went with 2 Dialga V-Star rather than 1. How are we gonna get these in play? Is the main question you're probably asking. This time I've decided on a Glass Trumpet build. You can go for you can probably go for a Metal Saucer build as well. But I went for Glass Trumpet. There's 4 copies of Glass Trumpet in this deck. What does Glass Trumpet do? Glass Trumpet is an item card that we can only play if there's a Terra Pokemon in play. If I have any Terra Pokemon in play, not my opponent, just me. And then you get to choose 2 of your benched colorless Pokemon, attach a basic energy from your discard pile to each of them. So if we have 2 energy in our discard pile and 2 benched colorless Pokemon and a Terra Pokemon in play, we get to attach 2 from this card, which is extremely powerful. You might be wondering, Noah, these are not colorless Pokemon, these are metal Pokemon. I'm well aware, do not worry. The main guy that's going to tie this all together for us is Terrapagos GX, of which I want 1 copy. Terrapagos EX, sorry, my bad. The text on this fella doesn't really matter, other than that it's a basic Pokemon, and that it's a Terra Pokemon. And that it's colorless. So this fulfills the Terra need of Glass Trumpet, and also one of the 2 colorless Pokemon we can attach to. So this kind of enables our Glass Trumpet. This is the only Terra Pokemon I have in the deck. It's probably the only one we need. So, discussing the energy counts. I think this is 10 energy if I recall correctly. Yes, this is 10 metal energy that we have in this deck. So if we attach half of these on turn 1, then we get to use Timeless GX. And on turn 2 we get then use Star Chronos, and on turn 3 we get an even crazier combo. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's first explain what I mean with the combo. Because first and foremost, this is not the only colorless Pokemon in the deck. I will show others later. It makes more sense to explain the combo first. Because sure, we can load up our Terrapagos and other colorless Pokemon with like a bunch of things, a bunch of metal energy, but that means that they're not attached to Dialga GX yet. But we can attach them to Dialga GX through the means of Battle Styles Bronzong, which has the metal transfer ability. As often as you like during your turn, you may move a metal energy from one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. So as soon as we have them attached with Glass Trumpet, we get to move them off and towards Dialga GX or Dialga V-Star or whichever Pokemon we want. And we can move them back and forth as much as we want to. Why are my sleeves so dirty? So I run 2 copies of this Metal Transfer Bronzong, and then 1 copy of Evolutionary Advantage Bronzor. If you go second, this Pokemon can evolve on your first turn. I'm sorry that the proxy turned out a little weird. I swear I'm not doing it on purpose. I guess I can overlay these so that we have a little bit more room. all of these goobers. So we have 1 Bronzor and 2 Bronzong. There we go. But that is technically the plan. We can get turn 1 Bronzong in play with Evolutionary Advantage Bronzor, and then we get to swap all our metal energy around. But then, if I've attacked with Timeless GX and then with Star Chronos, what do I do on a turn after? Well, luckily for us, there's kind of a pseudo evolution of Bronzong that we can use for this. That's kind of funny. Meet Bronzong Break. Yes, this is a break card. Break cards function as pseudo evolutions of Pokemon, meaning that they can be put on a Pokemon with normal evolution levels, with normal evolution methods. And the main takeaway from this is that still it retains everything from the Pokemon underneath it. So the retreat cost, the attacks, the abilities, the resistance, and the weakness. Only thing that it overrides is its HP value, and it also usually gets a new attack or an ability. And this new attack that it gets is Metal Rain for 1 metal and 1 colorless. So we get to discard any metal energy attached to this Pokemon, and for each metal energy we discard, we do 30 damage to one of our opponent's Pokemon. And we can choose the same Pokemon more than once. So if we have 10 attached to this fella, we can spread like 300 damage across the board after using these 2 big attacks, which is usually what we hope to be game ending. That's like this, like the linchpin. This is the linchpin. So that's kind of the game plan. The rest of the cards are just here to support this very idea, this very combo. Hello Ellie, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. How's your day been so far? So, for this combo to work, for Glass Trumpet to function, we need metal energies in the discard pile. Like, probably like 8 of them. Because we want to use 4 Glass Trumpets. So how do we get metal energy in the discard pile? Well, this deck has quite a few ways that are really good at like drawing cards and also discarding cards. So we run 3 copies of Battle Compressor. This is an item card that allows us to search our deck for up to 3 cards and discard them. This card's like made for this deck. Really, really good card. Can aggressively discard metal energy, but also other cards that we don't need anymore. Like if we have a 1 Bronzong, we don't need the second one, so we can just discard that from our deck with Battle Compressor. Really, really good card. I do only run 3. I wish I could run 4. 3 is usually more than enough. Trust me. I've tried this list out a few times. 3 is usually more than enough. It has been a bit low dopamine, but we're trying to manage. I hope I can increase that dopamine. Dude, the combos this deck can do, you'll pop off, for sure. Even though you don't know, you'll definitely pop off, for sure. I'm doing pretty well. I've had a pretty long day as well, but I'm excited to share another deck idea here on the channel. Excited to raise more money for Movember or awareness, like either of those two. Very happy to do so. Very glad that I'm in a position to do so. But if the tiredness shines through, it is because I am. I've had a long day at college today, and if you see me make misplays or like do goofy stuff, you know what the reason is. But we're here to have a good time, right? Not a correct time. We're here to have a good time and not a correct time. Alright, there's some more cards that discard cards from our hand specifically and then search for stuff, which is really nice. For example, the well-trusted, the most trustworthy item card of all time, quote unquote. You see this item card all the time in like any format. This is Ultra Ball, 4 copies. Ultra Ball discards 2 other cards from our hand to search our deck for a Pokemon and put it into our hand. Really useful if you wanna, like, if we're missing a piece, if we need to find a Bronzong specifically, or Dialga V-Star, or like any Pokemon from this deck. And we can use the discard cost to discard metal energy, which is what we want to do. Some more cards like that. There's also 3 copies of Quick Ball. This card functions very similarly. It's an item card that we have to discard 1 card in our hands to search our deck for a basic Pokemon to put into our hands. So it functions similarly to Ultra Ball. Its discard cost is a little more efficient, but it's restricted to only basic Pokemon and not any Pokemon. Still incredibly useful card to quickly search our deck for the cards that we need on any given turn. For our supporters, for now, there's not a lot of supporters in this deck because this is supposed to be like a turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 combo. So I think there's like 3 supporters in this deck. But one of the supporters is indeed Professor's Research. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. A very powerful effect, of course. Gives us more draw. What else do you want? I'm gonna put the research here, by the way. I think that makes more sense. Our ace-spec choice of this deck is also gonna help us discard a lot of these cards. It's Secret Box. Look, it's a pretty pink card. Woohoo! Pretty pink card for this deck is specifically a Secret Box. Unfortunately, we can only put 1 ace-spec in our deck, but for this time, it is Secret Box. Secret Box is an item that we can only play if we discard 3 other cards from our hand, but we get to search our deck for an item card, a Pokemon tool card, a supporter card, and a stadium card. We get to search our deck for 4 cards. Crazy card. Really, really good card. That's why we're only allowed to run 1, of course. That makes a lot of sense, I think. But sometimes these discards can be a little bit overwhelming, and sometimes we're stuck discarding things we don't want, but for that we have 1 copy of Execute in the deck. Execute has the ability Propagation, which says once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you may put it into your hand, effectively giving you an extra card to discard with Quick Ball or Ultra Ball or Secret Box. If we don't want to burn any other piece in our hand, we can use Propagation to get Execute to be used as discard fodder rather than any other card in our hand. Really useful card. Hold on, let me just lay them out like this. I think I'm gonna run out of room on my playmat showing the deck list, but that's okay. I think you guys won't mind if I find some creative solutions to this. Let's head into. I still have a little bit more Pokemon search in this deck because there's also more Pokemon in this deck. It's not just these goobers that you see here. We have 4 copies of Battle VIP Pass. Battle VIP Pass is an item that we can only use during our first turn, and we get to search our deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto our bench. Effectively, a double nest ball that only works on turn 1. So past turn 1, it's really good discard fodder, just like Execute is or Metal Energy are. And then we also have 4 copies of Trainer's Mail, which effectively makes our deck 4 cards smaller, which is ideal. If you're not familiar with Trainer's Mail, this is an item card that looks at the top 4 cards of your deck, and you get to reveal a trainer card you find there, except for Trainer's Mail, and put that trainer card into your hands. The other 3 cards that you don't decide to pick, you shuffle them back into your deck. But this effectively helps us, like since a lot of cards in our deck are trainer cards, this card really helps us to just find 1 more card that we might need to get the turn going for a little bit longer. Excellent card. Now, let's head more into the infamous 3 Musketeers of Expanded Draw. Crobat V, the Dene GX, and Squawkabilly EX. These are all cards that draw 6 cards, but in different ways. Crobat V is a card that when we play it from our hand onto our bench, we get to draw until we have 6 cards in our hands. The Dene GX is a Pokemon that does a similar thing, but when we play it from our hand, we get to discard our hand and draw 6 cards. And then Squawkabilly says if this is on your bench during the first turn, you get to use it to discard your hand and draw 6 cards. So this only works during turn 1, but we don't have to play it from hand to activate it. We can activate it whenever it's on the bench. Squawkabilly especially is really nice in this deck because this is also a colorless Pokemon. And we do remember that we do need benched colorless Pokemon to attach the metal energies to with the last trumpet. So incredibly common. That's why I said the 3 Musketeers. You can call them the 3 Horsemen, of course. One more thing. This is why I'm gonna pull out the text right here. Hello, the text. The sacred texts. Where's the sacred text? There's the sacred text. As you can see right here, I said Mew EX is Oranguru Sword and Shield. I made this deck like, I want to say like 30 minutes before the stream started. So I couldn't find a proxy of Oranguru Sword Shield or the actual copy of it. So I'm running Mew EX. The reason I'm running Mew EX in this deck is because it has the same ability. Once during your turn, you get to draw cards until you have 3 cards in your hand. Of course, Mew EX is not colorless Pokemon. And Mew EX also has 0 retreat cost and is a 2-prizer rather than Oranguru being a 1-prizer with 2 retreat and less HP. But I'm going to be using this for the ability only. Just the ability. And of course as another colorless Pokemon to accelerate with Glass Trumpet. That's why I made the note over here. Just to say specifically, hey, if I ever accelerate to this Mew EX, it's because I had no other choice, okay? That's the only reason. Because I had no other choice. Alright, this is a lot of Pokemon, of course, to get on the bench. So we do run 2 copies of Skyfield. To increase our bench size, Skyfield is a stadium that says each player can have up to 8 Pokemon on his or her bench. Incredibly powerful effect, especially if we want many Pokemon on the bench. And because we have this extra bench space, we do get to use the beautiful, beautiful Dawn Wings Necrozma DX Floatstone combo. Because you might be wondering, how do we get Dialga GX into Dialga V-Star into Bronzong, because they all have very real retreat costs. But with Dawn Wings Necrozma DX's ability Invasion, we get to, whenever this is on the bench, use it to switch this to the active spot. And if this has a Floatstone attached, a tool that gives the Pokemon it's attached to no retreat cost, we get to use Invasion to move this to the active, and it has no retreat thanks to the Floatstone. So we get to retreat into anything other that we want, anything else. Really, really nice, like I said. And if we're not finding this combo in any way whatsoever, we have some more switching options. We do have 1 copy of Guzma, which switches one of our Pokemon, but also our opponent's Pokemon. Man, my sleeves are so dirty. Sorry, I'm doing this midstream. And we also have 1 escape rope, which is the same on an item, but we don't get to choose what the opponent pushes up. Okay, we're almost through the deck. There's a few more cards in here. There's 5 more cards. Like I said earlier, we only run 1 copy of most basic Pokemon because we run 2 Hisuian Heavy Ball to find our basics more easily, to save on deck space. Specifically, if you play Hisuian Heavy Ball from your hand, you get to look at your prizes and swap this card with a basic Pokemon in your prizes. So if a basic Pokemon's ever trapped in prizes, we can get it with Hisuian Heavy Ball. But if there's anything else in prizes that we really want, there's supporter number 3 for us, Gladion. Gladion lets us look at our face down prize cards and put 1 of them into our hands, but then it shuffles itself into the prizes afterwards. This is effectively the same as Hisuian Heavy Ball, but instead of this swapping, this is a supporter instead of an item, but we get to swap any card rather than just basic Pokemon. We do have 1 copy of Canceling Cologne in case we're playing against Wobbuffet or something disgusting like that when we don't have Escape Rope, or just another out to it specifically. And last card in the deck is 1 copy of Rescue Stretcher. This deck does discard a lot of shit. And sometimes we have to discard Pokemon that we don't want to discard, so we can use Rescue Stretcher to get them back at any point. Oh, if we have this in our hand. This is the whole deck list, all 60 cards. If you have any questions about it, or if you want to see a card more up close again, feel free to ask me. Make sure you hydrate, of course. This is your time to screenshot right now, actually, I would say. I would say this is probably your time to screenshot. Reminder that Mew EX is Oranguru from Sword and Shield base set. For the purposes of deck testing here, which we are going to do now, we're going to test this deck out. We're going to give it a few test runs, see how it works. And I will be playing the decks as if I'm going second every time, because that's technically ideal. We never want to go first with this list, we always want to go second. If we can. So let's shuffle the deck up and see what it's capable of. Let me just grab my V-Star and GX marker. I'll put them a little bit lower so we can actually see them properly. God, I love this music. It's so soothing. Alright, I think we've got a good shuffle going on here, so let's start this game by drawing 7 cards. Alright. Starting with Dialga GX active is actually not the worst at all. This is actually not a terrible opening, and we got double Trainer's Mail, we got Skyfield, we got Bronzor. This is not bad at all. This is actually pretty good. Alright, let's flip it over and start the game. Actually, I do think I want to put my text markers. So we draw into Guzma, that's not really going to be very helpful. Let's put the Skyfield in play, because that's definitely going to happen. Also definitely going to put the Bronzor in play. And let's play Battle Compressor. I will just check my prices here, instead of price checking. We priced one Glass Trumpet and one Squawk, so we do need both Oranguru and Terapagos. If we don't find Heavy Ball. Escape Rope is priced and Canceling Cologne. The other Skyfield is priced, but that's fine. We already found this one. And Research is priced, okay. Interesting cards to lose. Alright, let's search our deck for 3 cards to discard. I'm pretty sure I just want to discard 3 Metal Energy. Especially since Canceling Cologne is already out of the deck and in the prizes. Might want to consider discarding Execute. But we do have... Our hand is a little bit clunky and we don't exactly know what we were going to find off the Trainer's Meals. How playable those cards are. So I'll hold off on discarding Execute at this point and I'll just do 3 Metal Energy specifically to make it easier for us to do at least 1 Trumpet. Let's give the deck a good shuffle. And I'll leave the discarded energies sideways here so we can always check how many we have discarded. We're definitely going to bench the Oranguru here. It's Oranguru, it's not Mew. And let's play the Trainer's Meal. So let's look at the top 4 cards of our deck. Grab a trainer card we find there. I think I definitely want to grab the Quick Ball here. The Glass Trumpet can be useful, but honestly, Quick Ball is a lot more useful for now. So I think I do want to Quick Ball away the Guzma at this point. Because I do want my hand to be thin for the Oranguru proc. Hello Sam. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. At this point we have to consider if we want to grab Dialga V or Terapagos. Or whatever what Pokemon we want to grab at this point. I think the most important is Terapagos, so that it actually activates our Glass Trumpets. But you could make a case to find Dialga V here. We're probably gonna rip a lot more cards here, don't worry. Alright, shuffle everything up and then we can play the next Trainer's Mail. Hope you're doing well today, Sam. How is the college going so far? The lectures? Or are you not having lectures today? You're trying this deck in live format like a year ago? Yeah. Live format, this deck is a lot worse because you don't have Battle Compressor and a Trainer's Mail and Skyfield. So, I guess Skyfield doesn't really matter because you can run Area 0. But still. Alright, so we get either Gladion or Floatstone here. Thinking about prizes, the only relevant card that maybe we could get out of prizes is Squawkabilly EX. And I don't particularly mind Squawk being priced for now. Specifically because we can also Heavy Ball that away. But playing Gladion here, or getting Gladion here might not be terrible, because we do have... because Research is priced. So this is the only supporter we will have access to in general. For this turn specifically. So I think I will play the Gladion. And honestly, I might actually grab the Squawkabilly with Gladion. I think it's probably better to grab Research with Gladion. Although, yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I'll definitely play the Gladion here. But then you get to see what our options are. We have Skyfield, which you already have in play, Escape Rope, Squawk, Canceling Cologne, Research, and Trumpets. I guess I can grab Trumpets here. Yeah, that's actually not bad. I don't have to show my opponent what I'm grabbing off the prices, but it's so obvious because it's the last card in my hand. Whatever. So let's play the Glass Trumpet from the prizes. That is actually kind of relevant, the Glass Trumpets. To accelerate 1 to Terapagos and 1 to Oranguru. Like I said, the only reason this is a MUEX is because I didn't find my Oranguru proxy in time. Let's go for a restart. We have no cards in hand, so we draw 3 cards. Okay, we get Battle Compressor and Double Metal Energy. That's a little awkward. This is actually incredibly awkward. I don't think we can make do with any of this. I maybe should have. Maybe I should have grabbed Squawkabilly. That's a little unfortunate. I can discard Execute, Metal. I don't think discarding anything else will help me further in this. Fortunately, I think it was probably correct to just grab Squawk here, but that's okay. Unfortunately. Alright. There we go. Battle Compressor away. Metal, and execute. And I guess my attachments for turn will be to Bronzor to spread the energies. And I'm gonna have to pass here, unfortunately. So that probably means that Dialga GX is getting KO'd here, unfortunately. But we do have recovery in the deck, so it's not the end of the world. So let's draw another card for turn. Ultra Ball. That's a little awkward. Whoops, I forgot to promote something. It's hard to say what I want to promote, but I think Mew is, like, Oranguru is probably correct here. Does Ultra Ball save me? Yes, because we can get Crobat. I think that's correct to do. I think what I will do is I'll attach to the Bronzor again manually. Then I'll use Instruct to draw until we have 3. Oh, this just gets Squawk. This is better. This is so much better. Hisuian Heavy Ball. We don't have to Crobat now. Oh wait, hold on. I mean, we can get Squawk, but we can't use Squawk because it's not turn 1 anymore. You did mine. You did yours with Ho-Oh-V Battle Compressor. With Ho-Oh-V and Blender. Gotcha. Understand. Understands. Okay, so it doesn't really matter that we grab this with Hisuian Heavy Ball. We have to Ultra Ball here anyway. We could consider the Dene, but I think the Dene is more powerful if we actually have some cards in hand that we don't get to get rid of. So I think we do have to grab Crobat here off the Ultra Ball. Probably wasn't good, but it is funny. It is definitely as funny for sure. Actually, slight misplay here. It's better to Propagation the Execute and then Ultra Ball away the Execute and Squawk here to grab Crobats. I'm gonna make that adjustment right now. And the reason why this is better to do is that we still have our Floatstone to attach to the Oranguru here. And then let's play Pro IV and trigger Dark Acid to draw 6 cards. Okay. Fortunately, Battle VIP Pass doesn't really work anymore. But we do have a Bronzong, which is really nice. We get to move the energies around finally. The downside is that I actually do have to find my one and only Rescue Stretcher. The vision was to take 2 extra turns and then play Cyrus to wipe their bench. Yeah, that's very fair. That is very fair. I'll definitely quick ball away the Battle VIP Pass to get a Dialga V, probably. I think that's the most relevant Pokemon right now, or Necrozma. I mean, I have another quick ball in hand, so it's fine. Quick ball for Dialga V. Yeah, shuffle. Okay, I'm shuffling. Could have considered benching the Squawk, actually. Actually, no. No takebacks, start again. Hello, Instinct. No. We are doing takebacks here, because we are trying to map the deck out. I don't care. So you reckon we will have full expanded on life before 2027? Hopefully. Likely not, but hopefully. Let's use Propagation and Quick Ball away the Execute. Grab the last basic Pokemon in our deck, the Dawnwing's Necrozma GX. I would be very hype. It would be very hype if we get full expanded on life before 2027, but I have my doubts. I'm gonna be honest, I have my doubts. Alright. So let's bench this guy, because why not? Unfortunately, Glass Trumpet can only accelerate to one Pokemon here, but I'm still gonna play it, because I want to play this Dedenne right now. So let's play the Glass Trumpet to accelerate to the Terrapagos. This does activate. Yeah, as soon as we find the Rescue Stretcher, we get to switch into the Dialga GX and move everything towards that, so that's awesome. Then I wouldn't have to play Solitaire for every stream. True! That would be very hype. I don't have to play Solitaire for every stream. I do like I do like the Solitaire aspect of this a lot, because I get to play with my actual cards. But yeah, it's probably more fun to have opponents. But then again, it's TCG Live, so I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, let's play the DNGX and trigger the Dead Change to draw 6 cards. 5, 6, 7. Sorry, 6. Okay. Let's attach a Floatstone to the Dawnwing's Necrozma GX. And use Invasion to move this to the active spot, so that actually our next Glass Trumpet will trigger too, because once again, like I said, the Mew is an Oranguru. I use Mew as an example because it's the same ability. The space on my mat's slightly limited, unfortunately. I will play Battle Compressor to Finn first and foremost. What I want to Finn out. I mean, there's useless Pokemon in here, but I would not want to Finn them out because I still have Ultra Balls that I can use the Ultra Balls to Finn those out. The feeling of playing with the cards is in your head. Yeah, exactly. I think I'm just gonna burn, since we do have 2 Metal Energy in this card. I think I'm just gonna burn triple Battle VIP Pass, because this is a dead card in our deck right now. Maybe a little bit of a controversial play. I could have done 2 Metal, 1 Battle VIP Pass, but yeah, like you said, Finning is winning. The Rescue Stretcher is in here, right? Yeah, it is in here. And we just hope that we draw the Rescue Stretcher off the Trainer's Mill, right? That's what we have to do here. We have to hope. Before we do anything else, it's probably wise to evolve into Bronzong Break in advance. And to play the Glass Trumpet to accelerate to Metal. 1 to Terrapagos. And 1 to Oranguru, quote-unquote Oranguru. There we go. I think you're going to return to Palkia for a few weeks in Commanders. This is definitely the best deck you have. Right. I did play the Dialga V this turn, so I can't evolve it yet, unfortunately. So let's go for a Trainer's Mail. That is really unfortunate. We didn't find the Rescue Stretcher. That is so sad. Ultra Ball doesn't really do anything right now because I have only 1 card in hand, and we can't get Trainer's Mail from here. I guess Ultra Ball is still technically the card to pick here. And you can focus on your play better. That's fair, that's fair. I'm gonna bring Lightning decks only from that one. Oh my god. Please do check the Palkia deck to see if there's any cards in there that have been banned in the meantime. Please do. Okay, Okay, so we do have... Oh wait, I can play this Ultra Ball if I want to fit a little more, because I can propagate Executor hand. And I think I will Ultra Ball these 2 cards to fin a little, to get Dialga V-Star into our hands. I mean, why not, right? Been updating it as the ban list evolves. Okay, gotcha. And you put in teammates. Okay, you moved Brandon and put in teammates. Yeah, fair. Okay. Our deck doesn't have very many cards right now, but unfortunately, we will have to retreat into a useless Pokemon for here. Let's retreat into the Den AGX and pass our turn. And just to be nice to myself, I'm just going to assume that they KO active here. Active the Den AGX. So let's push Dawnwing's Necrozma GX again and draw our card for turn. We get to evolve this into the Dialga V-Star, luckily. This is like the worst top deck I could have had for this deck. I don't think anything else has been banned. I don't think so either. And then let's use Instruct to draw until we have 3 cards in our hand. What the fuck is this? I'm bricking with this deck. What? How am I bricking with this deck? Yeah, add a Suicune V as well. That tracks. I mean, it doesn't really matter that I'm bricking right now, because this turn I can attack with Dialga V-Star. So let's push Dialga V-Star to active with the retreat, and I'll use Metal Transfer to move these 3 right here, and these 2 right here, and these 2 right here. I do need to find Rescue Stretcher next turn, fortunately. And let's attach manually from our hands this Metal Energy, and then rip the Star Chronos. I don't think we can assume that it takes a prize here, unfortunately, because their opponent might have Regidrago inactive. Forgot what you got for it. The Pocket Suicune Tarapago synergy is genuinely broken. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Right, so let's take our extra turn from Star Chronos. Find Trumpet. This is like, once again, like kind of a useless card right now. I can't even play this, can I? I don't think I can play this. There's no Metal Energy in my discard pile. And only way for me to get Metal Energy in a discard pile is to hard retreat with this, which is not the way. I'll definitely attach for turn onto this Dialga V-Star. And then I guess we gotta hope that our restart for 1 or our Instruct for 1 draws is what we want. Bro, you've gotta be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. This is so sad. There's technically still a way that we're in this game, which is if we use Invasion to push Dawnwing's Necrozma and retreat that to our Oranguru. We leave all the energy here and we hope we don't get gusted. So if they take out the Oranguru with only 1, that's technically a way how we are still in this match, but I don't see it. Once again, the top deck would have to be monstrous for us to actually do something here, because we just lost our Instructor. Draw for turn. That's a Secret Box. Okay, that is a card and a half. Secret Box is a card I'll just have to play here, unfortunately. Our deck is only items, so I'll grab a Rescue Stretcher, sure. Just swing with Bronzong Break. The thing is, I don't have context on their board, so if it's not enough to KO things, then I don't want to swing with Bronzong Break here. Actually, hold on. Once again, take back Z. I'm gonna do a little take back Z. Let's discard Execute with the Secret Box here. So we still have Glass Trumpet, so we can play the Glass Trumpet for 1. Into Rapagos. Small optimization, but it is very fair. I could have also discarded Trumpet, not discarded the metal, and just attached the metal manually. But this is more fun. So now we Rescue Stretcher the Dialga GX to our hands. We use Invasion to push our Dawnwing's Necrozma and retreat that into Dialga GX, and then Metal Transfer all the energies to Dialga GX. Swing with Timeless GX. I think at this point we probably take a KO. I have like 2 prizes. These are the 2 most useless prizes actually. Melody is actually so broken. Who's Melody? I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm sorry. Oh, I forgot to move this one to active. Actually, my bad. Doesn't really matter. It matters for now, but in Trainer's Mail, there's 3 cards in deck. Not gonna matter. Our draw at the end game was a little sad, fortunately. I can now Ultra Ball and search for Pokemon in my deck, but I don't have a Pokemon in my deck. Oh, Melanie! You mean Melanie? Touch your water from discard to Pokemon V and then draw V. Edge of Suicune is more relevant, yeah, for sure. So let's use the Dawnwing's Necrozma, GX Invasion, switch everything towards Bronzong Break, and this will deal 300 damage to our opponent's board in bouts of 30. Just 10 energy. And hopefully that's game. Hopefully. Like I said, our draw was very subpar this game, unfortunately. So we'll see how it goes in the next game. Budget Seda. It is Budget Seda, you're so right. Are there any ancient water Pokemon with like energy switch that you want to use? Maybe? Probably not, right? I don't think there's an ancient water... Well, no, there is. There's Walking Wake. Walking Wake is an ancient water Pokemon. But there's... I think there's only like 2 different Walking Wakes are ancient, so... Walking Wake is Darkshide, yeah. It is. I mean, the Undulate, like the one that does... Like, that does damage to itself and then does damage to the opponent based on how much damage you did to yourself. That one is alright. But it's not... It's definitely not great. I'll definitely add to that. Not worth deck space for, yeah. What I'm most surprised about since launching the format is that 100 card decks, even though like 100 card singleton decks are surprisingly tight to work with, which is crazy to me. Like, I did not expect that, because I don't have that issue usually with Eternal in the same degree. Like in Eternal, more or less, every time I make a deck, I'm like on 63 cards, and then I have to think, oh, what 3 cards am I cutting? But every time I make a commander deck, maybe it's because I'm trying to include every tech card in the world, I always end up with like 120 cards in deck, and I'm like, oh well, shit, what do I have to cut? And I usually don't know. Alright, I'm gonna take a sip of water. You should do so as well. And after that, I'll start my next game. If you have a compact engine, then you really struggle kill the rest without killing consistency. I see what you mean. I don't think I've ever tried compact engines though. I don't think I've ever tried compact engines in Pokémon Commander. Maybe I should. Maybe I definitely should. Alright, so let's draw our 7 cards for the opening hand. Okay, so we start with both Oranguru and Terapagos. I think I do want at least this one down. Not sure about the Oranguru yet. Unfortunately, I don't really have anything else that I can start with comfortably. Filling the deck after your first 40 cards sucks. I usually don't struggle with that, but maybe that's just me. So I have Guzma and Escape Rope in my opening hand. This is kind of cursed. Man, this is really cursed. I guess I'll rip the Trainer's Mail first, because there's nothing really that I want to Ultra Ball. Oh, I ripped Secret Box off this. Okay, so these two are not worth to consider. Do I want to Secret Box anything here? I probably can, but the question is, do I want to? I think I do want to rip the Secret Box here. I think I do want to rip the Secret Box. So let's play the Secret Box. Guess we're definitely discarding this. And this. And then the question is, what's the last discard? Probably Ultra Ball, because I have 4 copies of that. Let's search our deck for a Tool, Item, Stadium, and Supporter. I will check my prizes manually, just like this. 2 Metal, Dialga V-Star, Trumpet Skyfield, Battle VIP. Okay. Not the best prizes, not the worst. But this makes me even happier that I played Secret Box, because this means, since I only run 2 copies of Skyfield, and one of them is prized, I can just find the other one. I'm noticing my camera's a little... It's better? I think this is better. Yeah. At least my camera is not facing diagonally now anymore. So we are definitely finding Skyfield, and I think Battle VIP Pass is also kind of a must. Supporter. What supporter do I want here? I can't really comfortably research here because I have Bronzong in hands. There wasn't the Bronzong in prize, it was Dialga V-Star that wasn't priced. So I think research is probably the supporter that we want here. Like Skyfield is a given, and Floatstone is also a given, because those are the only tools, stadiums respectively, in my deck. Where's my research? Did I just pass it? Oh yeah, it's right here. Research, Floatstone, Skyfields. Alright. Let's put down the Skyfields and play the Battle VIP Pass. I think since I have Floatstone in hand, I do want to grab Dawn Wings Necrozma GX, and I also want to grab Squawkabilly. Because if there's ever a moment in this turn to squawk, it's right now. A wild unidentified ghost appears. Ooh, spooky! Very spooky. Right, let's attach a Floatstone to Dawn Wings Necrozma GX, and I will use Invasion here. Actually, hold on. Was it better to discard the Escape Rope with this? It probably was. Yeah, my brain was not computing with how well I could grab Battle VIP Pass for that. Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll just bench the Oranguru as well here. And I'll research. Unfortunately, I can't play the Trumpet because I haven't seen Metal Energy here yet. So let's draw 7 new cards. Okay, I don't think Heavy Ball does anything. So I can Quick Ball away the Hisuian Heavy Ball. I think... What do I want to grab with this? Do I want to grab a Zekute? I need Dialga GX here, and I need Bronzor here, so I can't permit myself to grab. Let's grab Bronzor. Where's Bronzor? It wouldn't be my top deck, that's crazy. Let's grab Bronzor off the Quick Ball. And then Ultra Ball away the Floatstone and the Metal Energy for Bronzong. There was a Bronzong in my hand that I discarded, but there's still another one. Actually, this one is very ugly, so I think I'll just swap the two real quick, if you guys don't mind. I think I'll just swap the two. This one is so ugly. Yeah, my prints are kind of malfunctioned on some of the proxies, but this one looks a lot better than the other one. From the research, okay. Let's play down the Crobats and trigger Dark Acid to draw 5 cards. 3, 4, 5. I'm pretty sure I didn't have basic Pokemon in my... No, it's just Dialga V-Star, okay. I just wanted to double check that. I'm just drawing into both my Hisuian Heavy Balls naturally. It's crazy. Okay. I can't evolve this into Bronzong Break yet, unfortunately. I don't really have any other search in my hand at the moment, so let's go for Trainer's Mail. Okay, I have one option, it's Battle Compressor. I don't mind that at all, actually, if I'm gonna be honest. So let's play the Battle Compressor. To discard 3 Metal Energy. I think that's probably best. 3 Metal Energy is probably the play. It is way too cold outside for November. It's funny you say that, because the weather here is actually fairly mild for me. Which I don't mind at all. But yeah, it do be November. The year goes by so fast, man. Right, let's put these into the discards. And I think I see an ad coming soon. -4! Jeez Louise! Yeah, there is an ad coming soon. So before I rip the next Trainer's Mail, I think I'll let the ad rip. Yeah, let's go for that. Yeah, I'll let the ad rip in the meantime. Yesterday it snowed? No way. That's crazy. That's actually nutto. Nutto? That's not a word. It's nutty. To be fair, most of English is not real words, if I'm gonna be honest. Alright. So before I continue my line of play, I will think about what I'm going to do. I think I'm at a point I really don't want to Dedenne this turn, because I don't want to discard my Bronzong Break. I can save it for next turn, but I really need... Like, the only piece I'm missing here is, like... The pieces I'm missing is Double Trumpet plus Dialga GX. To get, like, turn 1 combo. And I don't think that's possible for me to get turn 1 combo anymore. I do still have Squawk open. I think I might just have to rip all the way with Dene and then Squawk to find what I want to find. I think I will attach a metal to Bronzong here manually. And let's rip the Trainer's Mail. Find another Battle Compressor or Quick Ball. Do I want a Quick Ball? I think I want a Quick Ball. So I can Quick Ball away the Hisuian Heavy Ball. Grab Dialga GX. I also need Dialga V. I think Dialga GX is a little more relevant here. Well, they're both relevant, that's the thing. They're both extremely relevant. I just need to dig deeper. So let's shuffle our deck again. Right? Yeah, I'm gonna have to use the Dene here, unfortunately, to discard Bronzong Break. I will put Bronzong Break here, just to remind myself that it is here. Is there any other relevant Pokemon in the discard pile at this point? This Bronzong, but I don't really care about that. Okay. Let's draw 6 cards. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I don't really want to Squawk here, but that's okay, because we can still VIP pass for 1 Pokemon, being Dialga V. And I can Battle Compressor. Discard, execute, Battle VIP Pass. Is there another Battle VIP Pass? No. Let's do execute Battle VIP Pass. And Metal Energy. Deck is very thin right now. Let me just sort pile the way I would like. Let's play Glass Trumpets. Attach 2 metal energy from our discard pile to our benched colorless Pokemon. And then let's play Trainer's Mail. Oh, there's the Rescue Stretcher. Let's go. That's big. Yeah, I definitely want to grab Rescue Stretcher for next turn. With next turn actually being like immediately after the Dialga GX rip. Wait, what were my other options? My other options, like Last Trumpet was not in my other options. Why am I so low on trumpets? Wait, there was a trumpet here. There's another trumpet that I discarded earlier. There's one in prizes and one in deck. Oh shit, I'm not there yet. That's kind of worrisome actually. I'm not there yet. Can't actually do the big funny swing that I wanted to. That really sucks. I guess what I want to do then is not grab Rescue Stretcher and then rip the Squawk. I hope I find Rescue Stretcher after that. I think that's probably fine. I will have to do Rescue Stretcher for Shuffle, but I think that's fine. 6. Especially since my deck is 3 cards. I can Battle Compressor right here. And I do want to discard... Wait, I don't have many trumpets left. I don't want to discard any of these. That's a wasted compressor, unfortunately. Yeah, so let's hold most of this hand. Let's play the Last Trumpets. I'm still not there yet, because I don't have attachment for turn, funnily enough. No, I can still... Yeah, I need to fit my hand down. So if I Quick Ball away this... I just need to hit the 2 and 3 of the metal energy here, which I do. Nice. That was a little sweaty. Okay. That was a long ass turn, by the way. Holy shit. Retreat into Dialga GX. Use Metal Transfer to move all the shit towards Dialga GX. So let me just check if I missed a metal energy. No, I didn't. There's indeed only one in discard. So move this one, and then go for Timeless GX. Let's say we knock out a 1 prizer. Get Skyfield, that's kind of useless. Alright, all fine. We take our extra turn from the Timeless GX to draw cards. We don't mind discarding this. Okay, I have to Rescue Stretcher 3 Pokemon. But I think I also have to Rescue Stretcher the Executes back into the deck, unfortunately. No need to shuffle though, so I can Ultra Ball away Skyfield and the Metal Energy, grab Dialga V-Star. Then I'll use Invasion to move Dawnwings to active and Retreat with Floatstone to get Dialga V-Star inactive. Use Metal Transfer to move everything here. Swing with Star Chronos for, let's say, 1 prize once again. Trumpets, my beloved! Draw for turn. How many cards are in deck? 2, okay. So we play Glass Trumpets to attach an energy here and here. Fortunately, the 2 energy in prizes are still very much there. Then we use Instruct to draw the last 2 cards of our prizes. play Gladion, of our deck, we play Gladion, swap that with discards, the basic metal energy. Attach that to the Dialga V-Star. Doesn't really matter. Evolve into Bronzong Break. Execute is the only card in our hand right now. Retreat with the Invasion combo towards our Bronzong Break. And Metal Transfer everything towards it. And Bob's your uncle. 270 damage spread across your entire board for probably a board wipe. Nice. That was like with a one-turn whiff. With like the turn 1 whiff, but then turn 2 we immediately went GX into V-Star into Bronzong, which is really, really nice. So, alright, let's shuffle once more. My nose is kind of sniffy. Hope y'all are enjoying the stream still. I am noticing my voice is a little bit of strain on it at the moment, so I will be hydrating regularly during the stream here. Shuffle, shuffle. Shuffle everything. Go, shuffle. Right. Let's draw 7 cards. Let's see, what is our 7 opening? Why do I always start Terapagos and Squawk? It's so funny. I am incapable of starting any other Pokemon. Flip our markers again. Put down 6 prizes. And start the game. Draw for turn. That's a very nice Bronzor find. Very nice find. Let's play Hisuian Heavy Ball to see where prizes are looking. There's no basic Pokemon in here. Unfortunately, there is a Floatstone and an Escape Rope and a Guzma. The switching is going to be an issue. And there's also 2 Ultra Balls here and a Trainer's Mail that matters a little less. The 2 Ultra Balls does hurt a little, but not the end of the world. But I think that means that I will just have to attach the Metal Energy here for turn. And then, of course, we play the Skyfield. But then I think I will have to rip the Squawk and Seize. Discard the Trumpet and the Canceling Cologne. Honestly, at this point, you probably play the Canceling Cologne anyway, because you have to Escape Rope later from Gladion. Right, 5, 6. We find another Hisuian Heavy Ball, man. That sucks. This is definitely a good bench, though, 100%. I think let's do a Battle Compressor. What do we want to discard off the Battle Compressor? There's a Trumpet in my hands, but unfortunately, get my Squawk out of the active means to commit to the next attacker, most likely. I think to here. What else to discard? Just a third one, just in case. I think tree is probably it. Just tree metal. I think it's like definitely not terrible, especially since I have Execute in hand. Alright. Shuffle, shuffle. Tree Metal Energy. And I think then let's rip the Trainer's Mail. Ultra Ball is exactly the find I was looking for. Thank you so much. So I can play this Ultra Ball discarding the Execute and the Hisuian Heavy Ball. And since this is another Trumpet, I think I want to find the Oranguru. Oranguru is a little bit greedy to grab here. I think it's probably better to grab Crobats. Because that draws... Crobat's my safe option here. Crobat is definitely my safe option. So let's go for that. Play Crobat and then draw 5 thanks to Dark Assets. See what we draw off of this. We get Dialga V-Star, Trainer's Mail, Quick Ball. We get Oranguru anyway, which is huge. Let's use Battle Compressor to discard 3 more Metal Energy. There we go. Yeah. I think that's probably the play. Battle Compressor for 3 more. Let's play another Trainer's Mail. Find a Rescue Stretcher. Or do I want to grab Skyfield? I think at this point I do want to grab Skyfield because I'm gonna be tempted to rip stuff here more. Let's go grab Skyfields. We're not gonna shuffle anymore. Or yet. I can Quick Ball the Skyfields. What do I want to Quick Ball for? Just Dialga GX, I think. If I just grab Dialga GX here, I don't think I get there. Problem. I think I have to go for Dene. Unfortunately. Yeah, we have to go for Dene. I will Trumpet for 1. Oh no, wait. We have the Oranguru on the bench, so we can Trumpet for 2. Why did I not do this earlier? That's weird. Anyway, let's go for a Dede change, discarding my... Yeah, I have another Dialga V-Star in my deck. It's probably fine. Draw 6 cards. Yeah, we found it. We found the out. Very nice. Battle VIP Pass for Rosema and Dialga GX. Make a little room for everyone here. Everyone involved. Right, let's play Glass Trumpet to accelerate 2 metals and my 2 bench colorless Pokemon. Evolve into Bronzong, turn 1. Unfortunately, I can technically play the Secret Box if I want to, but I don't think I need to. I think I'm gonna hold off on my Secret Box for now. So let's retreat Squawk with my attached for turn energy into Dialga GX. Wait. Oh wait, I'm not there yet. I have to rip the Secret Box. That sucks. Alright. Let's go get this. Hold on. If I Quick Ball away, execute something, I still get the Secret Box because I can pull back execute again. Just don't know if there's more basic Pokemon in my deck. I don't think so. No basic Pokemon in my deck. So let's box this away. I need to find trumpets. That's like the one thing. I haven't played supporter for turn yet, so I guess let's play Gladion. Or actually, probably research for next turn. Tool is this, and there's no stadium. I have to rip the box, unfortunately. Here we go. Box has been ripped. Let's attach the floatstone to Dawnwing's Necrozma GX. Play trumpet. And honestly, at this point, I don't really have a reason not to play the research. I might as well, because that allows us to play another supporter next turn. 7. Let's play Battle Compressor to thin out the 2 Battle VIP passes. And the Quick Ball. Go. Alright, and let's use Metal Transfer to move all of these energies towards Dialga GX. Swing with Timeless GX, let's assume for no prizes, just in case they have a 2-prizer inactive. Draw a card for turn. Attach an energy for turn. I just want to double check. I think I'm down all my trumpets. 1, 2, 4. I am down all my trumpets. Yep. Maybe including Metal Saucer in this list might not be a bad idea. Just 1 or 2. It might be a little bit redundant, but it's never a bad thing. Let's Ultra Ball away, Battle VIP Pass, and Bronzong. Grab Origin Form Dialga V-Star. And let's Trainer's Mail to get my Rescue Stretcher, so that this is the last card in my deck. I'll play Gladion as my supporter for turn whilst I drop the rest of my hand onto the ground. Give me a second for that, please. I don't really need any of these cards, is the funny part. So grab Guzma, just in case. You made an updated Palkia list. Might change it a tad bit more, probably gonna have to do some testing. You're shocked you don't have Quad Saucer, Quad Trumpet. See, the problem is, I don't have room for Quad Saucer besides Quad Trumpet, if you think about it. This deck is hyper-optimized for Quad Trumpet. Because I only have 10 Metal Energy in this deck. I only have 10 Metal Energy in this deck. So I could probably include a few saucers eventually. Let's use that invasion combo to get all these energies to Dialga V-Star inactive. Swing with Star Chronos. This is receiving this. This is the same Pokemon receiving this damage as the Timeless GXmon. So let's say it's a 2-prizer that got KO'd by this. And then I'll draw for turn, evolve into Metal Transfer Bronzong, use Invasion to get all this energy. Onto Bronzong. And attach Metal Energy for turn. I could have Guzma'd here as well, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, that's Metal Rain for probably game. Let's be honest, it's probably game. More outs is more outs, yeah. But the rest of the deck is also more outs to my outs. Reversal Energy would be funny. It would be funny, but the thing is, you can't always like guarantee not grabbing knockouts, especially if you take turn after turn and like the opponent's active has to take 150 and then 220. Yes, you would have to weave a Guzma in that turn specifically if you want that to work. Also, doesn't this say basic energy? Hold on. I can't really read this because this print quality is so bad. This Discard as many metal energy attached to this Pokemon as you like. For each energy card discarded in this way. For each, yeah. Okay, so for each energy card discarded in this way, so reversal also still counts for 1. Reversal still counts for 1 energy. Unfortunately, because it says for each energy card discarded in this way. So at that point, you could consider like 4 shield energy, but that way you can't accelerate it with Trumpet and Saucer. People wonder why Raichu is so much better. Yeah. Yeah, Raichu is a lot better, but this combo has third skips, and that's really fun. I mean, that deck also has third skips. You probably can, like, if you think about it, you probably can also consider Gengar Mimikyu GX in this list with 4 House GX instead of the Dialga GX. But the thing is, it doesn't really fit the strategy. You need another Rainbow Energy, and this is just more fluid, if you know what I mean. If only you could use multiple GX attacks per game. Alright. Gonna take another sip of water. You can technically, yeah, with Misty and Lorelei, I know, but that's only for water type Pokemon. Right. And Zygarde, yeah, okay. But not like, it's not like water Pokemon and Zygarde have amazing GX attacks that I want to use turn after turn after turn. Might be a funny list to try and work on. Might be a funny list to try and work on, but probably too intense. Alright, let's draw another 7. And if you see any cards that could be considered cuttable for like some Metal Saucers, please do say so. You could consider probably cutting like, whatchamacallit, Canceling Cologne. But Canceling Cologne is just so important, otherwise you'll just lose to Wobbuffet if you don't have Escape Rope in the opener. It just gives you an extra out. Why do I always start with Squawk and Terapagos? This is crazy. I guess I'll start with Squawk, Terapagos, Mew again. And also Bronzor. Holy moly. 6 prizes. Alright, so let's draw for turn. We do have Battle VIP Pass. Let's manually check the prizes. Okay, so Crobat's prized. Double Ultra Balls once again prized. Don't really care about Canceling Clone Trainer's Mill, but the Metal and a Crobat is definitely the most important parts. To be entirely fair, Zygarde had really good GX attacks on both of the different ones, at least for the era. Yeah, for the era for sure. For now, no. For now, it's definitely a no for me. Alright, what am I gonna battle VIP Pass for? I have a lot of pieces already, so I think I definitely want Dialga GX. 100%. Definitely want Dialga GX, and I think I just grabbed Necrozma GX as well. I don't think there's really much of anything else that I want. Actually, it's probably Dialga V at this point. Yeah, I probably grab Dialga GX, Dialga V here. So that means I'm not really entirely reliant on Necrozma GX for the first turn. So if I don't find Skyfield, but I do find stuff like Guzma or Escape Rope or Floatstone, I still can get towards Dialga. Prevent all damage from EX and GX and have N150, or look at opponent's hands, 120 for each energy they have. Yeah, it's not the worst. I think we definitely Quick Ball away the Metal Energy here. For Execute. Before we rip this Research. I could have probably just grabbed one with Battle VIP Pass and then Quick Ball for the Dene, but I'm pretty confident I can draw more than this. I could even consider drawing one more from Instruct before going Research. I think that's probably the play. That is probably the play, I'm gonna be honest. Because who knows how tight my hand space is gonna be next turn. Or after the Research. Oh! Never punished. That's so good, bro. Getting battle comp off rip there is so fucking good. I think it's just triple metal. I do want to try and draw into Heavy Ball because there is a Crobat in the prizes, of course. Yeah. Plus Baby Zygarde increases your damage by 20. Does Baby Zygarde do the same as the Diancie Prism? I didn't know that. That's really funny. Alright. There we go. There's now 4 metal energy in the discards. Let's play Professor's Research, discarding my Execute in hand, drawing 7 cards. 6. There we go. See, we found Escape Rope. So we can safely switch into the Dialga GX. And we even have Heavy Ball. I don't know if I want to play that right now, but I definitely will Trumpet right now. That's to Terapagos and Squawk. All I need right now is like Trumpet, Attachment for turn, and Bronzong. And then I have is your GX attack damage, you should correct. Oh, okay. Okay, that sounds more balanced, yeah. It does sound more balanced. I have another Battle Compressor here and a Trainer's Mail. So we'll try to see how well I can do with that. I guess I can discard the other Heavy Ball now because I found this one. Not sure if I want to do double metal here. Probably do. Probably do. It's stackable, so it's not awful. Oh, it is stackable. Okay, that's not the worst. But like, if you could reuse Horror House GX, that would be like insane. Wait, why is there a Quick Ball here? Did Quick Ball slip through the cracks here? I think Quick Balls did slip through the cracks here. Yeah, because I want to discard Heavy Ball to Metal energy from this. Sad part is that I haven't found Skyfield yet. There we go. Let's play Trainer's Mail. Oh my god. Wait, Battle Compressor again? That doesn't really do anything for me. Does Rescue Stretcher do anything for me? I don't think so. Oh, it does not. I can't grab Trainer's Mail. Yeah, this is really awkward. This is really awkward. I think I'll grab the Battle Comp. And I'll play it. I don't need Gladion anymore. Don't need Quick Ball. Actually, it's probably better to burn the Battle VIP passes now. My first turn is about to end. Yeah. And I still have the Dene index, so it's probably gonna be Gladion VIP. Hello, Sam. Another video done. That's crazy. Tiger GX Bonnie won a regional? Oh, I did not know that. And you not, apparently. Bonnie has unironically good results? That's hilarious. I did not realize that. I did not really play that much during that era. I really don't know. Unfortunately, I don't really have a great way. To launch an attack this turn. So that really sucks. It's going alright, I must say. I'm a little bit tired here, but I'm still doing fine for now. Hope you're doing fine as well, for sure. So I didn't find the Bronzong, and I didn't find another Trumpet, unfortunately. Still haven't retreated for turn though, so I can technically Floatstone here and push think at this point I push Oranguru. I know this doesn't say Oranguru. Actually, we're going second, so I think what I can do is I can push Squawk. And I can say I can do Motivate to attach 2 metal energy to my Dialga GX on the bench here. It's actually not a bad shout. Motivate. First, second, 9th, top 32, and top 64. That's not too bad. It sounds like it was maybe underplayed, or maybe it was like a tier B deck, but it sounds like the Conkeldurr of this day and age. Yeah, okay, so Motivate has been used. Let's assume our opponent just freaking KOs this guy. That's probably what's gonna happen. So let's push Dialga GX. Hopefully we can launch an attack this turn. That would be amazing if we could. Let's draw a card for turn. We find the metal energy. I think I do want to attach this one for turn. Let's think about this. I want to retreat this and then Guzma to get this back to active. Then attach this for turn here. So I get maximum Crobat value. This has not been used, by the way. Yes. 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we find Skyfield. Do I want to play this though? Hold on, I have Secret Box here. What if the list ran more than one Bonnie, which is definitely funny. That is really funny. Let's think. I think I want to play the Trainer's Mail first to see what I get off of this. Okay, Rescue Stretcher is 8 cards. So is Ultra Ball. Is Ultra Ball like the linchpin here? Still need 1 attachment from... I still need 1... Yeah. Yeah, this works, this works. This works. We grab Ultra Ball from this. We go to search our lovely friend Execute and add that to our hands. Then we Ultra Ball away Execute and Metal Energy to get Bronzong. I guess 150 damage for 4 energy was a relevant attack. Feels crazy to say, honestly, at this point in the game. Feels crazy to say that that's actually a relevant attack. Okay, we evolve our Bronzor into Bronzong. We once again propagate Execute to our hands. And we Secret Box away. I need to hold on to the Floatstone. Yeah, so we have to discard the Bronzong Break 4 now, but that's okay. Because I still have Rescue Stretcher in deck. Okay, so off the Secret Box, what am I grabbing off the Secret Box? Can't grab a tool. I think the other Skyfield is not prized, okay. Definitely grabbing Trumpets, and I think there's no supporter in deck either. No. So I have to get just Trumpet Skyfield. That's okay. I'll just list ran 3 Guzaigar GX. That's crazy. Secret Boxing away 3 Execute would be wild. I've definitely done that before in the past, don't worry. I've ran quad Execute decks. 150 with Diancie in play. Yeah. Sounds alright. Right. So, get the Skyfield in play. You have to Floatstone on the Dialga V, unfortunately. Glass Trumpet to get 2 metal energies attached to our benched colorless Pokemon. Yes, this counts as an Oranguru. It's here, as you can see, it's here. And let's restart, or technically instruct to draw 3. Nice, we found Dialga V-Star, that's huge. We also found Rescue Stretcher. Hold on. I want to grab... This turn is not over yet, guys. I want to quick ball away this Execute. 5 streams in a row, Noah Yippee. Hell yeah, you got 5 streams in a row? That's sick. I don't think I need the Necrozma anymore at this point. When you started, it's unheard of damage. For the modern era, that's like straight bulk. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right, so this is quick balled away. Then I will propagate this to my hand so that when I play Rescue Stretcher to shuffle into my deck, I don't have to shuffle the fucking Execute into my deck. I do have to shuffle the Squawk into my deck, but at least I don't have to shuffle the Execute into my deck. That's the big brain play. And you did hit 400 yesterday, which is very, very high. You're killing it on YouTube, man. For sure, for sure. And let's play the Dene GX. With Beta Change. Discard Execute and draw 6 cards. Oh, I just draw into the Bronzong right away. That's so funny. And into the Squawk as well. Yeah, okay, so these cards are all like not playable at the moment. At all. So let's propagate. Play Ultra Ball, discarding Execute and Dialga V-Star. There's another card here. I guess I will grab the... no, I have Quick Ball on index, so I think I will grab Bronzong with this for ease of access. Me want more Noah YouTube uploads, more Spanish stuff, join me. Dude, I wish I had the time to make videos. Like, the VODs stay on YouTube, so you can treat this as a YouTube video, bro. The VODs stay on YouTube, they're just unlisted in like a playlist. So you can still like see the videos after these live streams after they're done. You just have to search for the playlist. Because it kills viewer retention. It kills like my average viewer retention if I leave them up as regular videos. That's why I unlist them. Okay, let's Trainer's Mail. To get Glass Trumpets. I do need to make sure that I'm not decking out in the meantime. I always want to put Execute on the top just so I'm aware what happened, like that I have access to it, because there's only one Execute in this deck. Trainer's Mail again for Glass Trumpet number 2. Hell yeah! You'll love to see it. I do need to discard a little bit more energy for this Glass Trumpet to pop off, but I can play this one. To attach here and here. Is there... I don't really have a way to discard energy anymore, but I have cards here. I have like one card there that can discard stuff. Because the rest of my deck is Quick Ball, Battle VIP Pass, Metal Energy, and Dawn Wings Necrozma. The line doesn't concern himself with decking out. Day 1356 is waiting for Expanded to come to TCG Live. Dude, me too. Realistically, Expanded by 2027. Dude, Strategic is on like the highest copium of all time for Expanded on TCG Live, so do not expect a realistic answer from him. Okay, let's Metal Transfer everything to the active Dialga just to make it a little easier for me. Swing with Timeless GX for turn. Start next turn. I do find Quick Ball, but I need to hold on to this. Let's evolve into Bronzong Break in the meantime. Oh wait, yeah, I need to get the Execute here. Alright, let's retreat into Dialga V-Star. And start Chronos for the KO. Yeah, it's probably a KO on the 2-prizer if we're gonna be honest, because it took 150 and then 220 without response. Yeah, okay. Cool. Draw another card for turn. Unfortunately, the Metal Energy is still one of these two cards. Can I thin my hand down in such a way that I still have a discard card and that? I can play Canceling Cologne and I can play this. But I don't want to deck out this turn. I can't play Quick Ball or Ultra Ball if I have no deck. That's a thing. I have to take the gamble all the time. I bet you I could learn programming and do it myself before it comes out. Realistically, it is possible you could see it, but you will explain why you think Expanded on CC Live is still on the table in your next message. Oh boy, here we go. Okay, so we Ultra Ball away Squawk and Bronzong. See the last 2 cards of our deck. Yeah. And then let's use Instruct to draw 1 card. We draw until we have 3 cards in deck. Paragraph incoming. We do draw the Metal Energy. Nice. I don't even need to discard this. I can just attach this for turn. Why was I so hyperfixated on discarding this? Yeah, this was all very unnecessary to get this, but that's okay. I mean, I didn't need to find it, but I could just attach it for turn, so I didn't need to keep the Glass Trumpet. Yeah, that's the Battle VIP Press. So, now we hard retreat with the Floatstone into the Bronzong break. And then we swing with Metal Rain for spreading 270 damage. Why am I shuffling? Wait, what am I doing? Why am I shuffling my fucking Metal Energy? That was such a brain dead moment. Yeah, unfortunately there was 1 medal in prizes. Not that it really matters. I had to discard Gladion earlier this game, otherwise I probably would have grabbed the Metal Energy. Black and white XY cards are still viewable and redeemable in TCG Live and viewable in the card decks, which is a relatively recent update. True. A message support not too long ago about how you couldn't add black and white XY cards anymore to decks, that they just want to avoid confusion as they aren't coded or playable yet. The black-white XY cards have been viewable. They have been viewable in forever, but they haven't been craftable. They haven't been craftable forever. I think that's mostly what strategic has been referred to. They removed them from decks because they're cringe. They removed them from decks because they are cringe. That's so fucking funny that you say that. They removed them from decks because they are cringe. Quick question, by the way. I just had a revelation. Have any of you played Legend ZA? Any of the 2 of you? And if you say no and you want to avoid spoilers, please tell me. Otherwise I won't tell. But yeah. On the website it says that Expanded is in development. Wording in game implies that it's still coming. Yeah. You had decks with XY and black and white cards made and they deleted them during the updates. That's so funny. That is so funny. Oh man. Also pretty sure they would have got rid of the black-white XY cards if they didn't want them in game. Yeah, I mean, probably. Please do tell me if you guys do want to avoid ZA spoilers. Because I had a big revelation right now that I might want to talk about. And if not, if you guys do want to avoid spoilers for the ZA, then I will shut my mouth and I'll think of something else to talk about. Pretty sure they would. Yeah. You haven't played ZA, no spoilers? Gotcha. Yeah, thank you. So actually doing their job and finishing Expanded, does that stop you from using them in the deck builder? Yeah, I feel like the TCG Live dev team is probably not too big, and so they're always like hard crunch on trying to make the newest card from the newest expansion function every time. I think that's what it is. And that they simply do not have time to add Expanded because they're still too stuck with trying to find easier ways to add the new cards every time. I think maybe they fail at that too. True, dude. If they fail at that, do you really trust them to implement all the black, white, and XY cards correctly? Maybe fix the spaghetti code, you bums. Yeah. Ah, I love water. It's so good. Okay, let's draw another opening 7. Actually, no. I'm going to let the ad rip for now. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. And we'll start a new game when the ad is over. You just want Expanded, okay. Yeah, that's very valid. I do too. Is it really that much to ask, considering I've played a shitty game that was supposed to be 100 times better than TCG Online? Yeah. What do you think, Sam? I reckon you aren't as optimistic as I am. Yeah, I wanted to rip them now because I didn't have a game going on right now. You're not at all optimistic. Not a single thing has been touched with live beta. Oh yeah, definitely not. You feel that it is worse, people shut up about it because then they won't ever get around to it. That is very true. That is very true. Or rise in when expanded. Guarantee we will have GTA 6 before PTCG Live expanded. We will definitely 100% have GTA 6 before TCG Live expanded. 100%. See, now that's a tough one. No, I think I agree with Sam. I think we definitely have GTA 6 before Live expands. I think... That's what I think. That's not what I'm hoping, of course, but that's what I'm thinking. I do prefer to get it sooner rather than later. But I do think that that is a true statement. A true prediction, I should say. See, now that's a tough one, yeah. November 2026 is GTA, yeah. Like a 1% chance to actually get expanded out by then. I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's more of a 5 to 10% chance. I think it's more like 5 to 10% chance, but still not very high. I have faith in the PTCGL devs, and that's why I'm saying it's probably 5 to 10%. Unless you were speaking hyperbole, of course. Oh yeah, it's exactly 1 year until GTA 6 comes out. That's crazy. That is so crazy. As someone who has a channel where 90% of your videos are expanded related, of course, you want the true format back, yeah. But I guess you could do the same thing as me and do tabletop. I mean, I don't know how many cards you own, but as you can see, there's definitely proxies in here. I say there's no proxies. Like, this Dialga V, for example, is a proxy. Like, I would say most of the trainers are not proxies for me, but as you can see, the Bronzor and the Bronzong are proxies. I guess the Crobat V and the Terapagos are not, but like the Dawn Wings and the Crozma is. The Bronzong is. The Dialga GX. Second Floatstone is a proxy, because I only have one Floatstone. I guess the Oranguru would have been a proxy if I cared to make it. You'd love for full expanded, but you're just realistic. Yeah, me too. Me too. Or, strategic, and hear me out. You're gonna start playing Poké Commander with us. And you make content about that. How about that, huh? I feel like it's really hard to make content for Poké Commander that aren't exactly live streams. I guess the games tend to go on for a lot longer, so they ask for like a lot more commitment on the viewer parts, which is kind of unfortunate. I don't know how GLC does that, because GLC also is technically faster than slower than standard. So I don't know. You're also realistic in saying standard fucking sucks right now. You have Regidrago, that's your only meta deck, but you have Ancient Box and Expanded, which you're proud of as you build it yourself. Oh yeah. I probably have a lot of the cards that go into Regidrago as well. So I think I do have like a 4-3 Regidrago line. And I have the Koraidon EX from Temporal Forces, which is soon going to be obsolete as soon as Mega Dragonite comes out. I don't have like the Journey Together Salamence, and I don't have I do have the Noivern EX, but not the Noivern GX. And I don't have the Dialga GX either. I, of course, do have Kyurem. There's a lot of cards that I do own from that deck. But I definitely don't own Double Dragon Energy. That's one of the cards that I don't own. Sure. Loki, it's always sucked. Honestly, I don't really mind Standard right now. Standard is actually, in my opinion, still pretty fun. Bandit for life. You take that back. Brilliant Stars. The Surging Sparks format was awesome. Yeah. I would say, honestly, the format with Phantasmal Flames is also pretty cool, because we have stuff like Battle Coliseum. Sorry, Battle Cage. And Dawn we're getting as well. Really fun. To be fair, Regidrago in Standard had a lot of checks. It's funny that it's like exactly the expansion before Badu came out. It's so funny that we're talking about up until the expansion before Badu came out. Like, Regidrago was a really good deck, but it wasn't like auto-winning against everything. Which, it's different from Expanded for sure. I had hard loss to multiple tier 2 and tier 3 decks. Yeah, exactly. Slowking being like one of them, of course. Okay, so I do have Dialga GX in opener. I think I prefer putting Bronzor in active. In case I don't find like the Dawnwings Necrozma shit, I can still hard retreat with an attached energy return. There we go. But you just hate the limitation on the card pool of Standard, yet you get it. There's new cards, blah blah blah, money, blah blah blah. Like, bro, let me play my older cards. That's what we have Expanded for, right? Alright, let's draw for turn. I mean, I do have Battle Compressor. Also 2 metal in hand, so I'm not too worried about searching for metal energy here. What the fuck? I have 3 Battle VIP Pass of the 4 in my prizes. And Trumpet and Crobat V. I don't really care about the Ultra Ball, but holy shit. As always, the best formats are the ones where it's a bridge between mechanics. Dude, Eternal is so goddamn fun to play, because there's so many cool bridges. Eternal is so fun to play. But it's even harder to play Eternal like this, of course, because a lot less people are familiar with Eternal besides Expanded. Compared to Expanded. I do know how much you care about Expanded, but you constantly cry and complain in his DMs about it. No, you don't have to apologize for that, because I do understand that. Genuinely. Oh yeah, I still need to do the fucking Battle Compressor. I do have Rescue Stretcher in hand, so I'm probably gonna go for Tactical, 1 Energy, 1 Execute, and then 1 Pokemon I want right now discard. Probably Terapagos. Because I have the Dene. I think I'm gonna go for this off of the Battle Compressor. And I'll quick ball away a Metal Energy. Well, I grab Squawk. I think that's probably good. In a Silent Lab Discord, you saw someone said we should rant on X to TPCI about adding older cards to TCG Live. You're 100% in. I really think it was a joke. Yeah, it was definitely a joke. Brilliant Stars Surging Sparks format was your favorite. Format sings XY. That's kind of funny. I would say it's probably one of my favorite ones as well, having played Standard in. I must say it was pretty fun. Although I did also like the Gen 4 era, where we had all Gen 4, like Diamond Pearl and Hard Gold, Soul Silver cards. I did like that era a lot as well. I think I will attach here for turn. And then Rescue Stretcher for Terapagos. And let's lay these on the side here. Actually, I'll probably put you here as well, just for these faxes. But because now I can go for that hard retreat into the Dialga GX. And I have 2 colorless Pokemon on my bench. Right, so let's rip to the Dene with no cards in hands. For 6 cards. See, we got a Trumpet right here, baby. Okay, the rest is kind of awful, if I'm gonna be honest. The rest of the cards are kind of bad here. Then we got the VNEX overlap was peak and nobody can tell me different. Yeah, I really like the I really like the EFG format as well. Like Guardi was pretty strong in that, but EFG was also pretty fun, in my opinion. EFG block. Meta relevant card, which is insane. Oh yeah. It was. For you, I personally like the GXV overlap 5 years ago. That was also really fun, the GXV overlap. Besides a certain deck called ADP Zacian, it was a pretty fun time, for sure. Every deck that wasn't ADP Zacian was fun to play against, I would say. Okay, let's go for a trumpet. Accelerate here and here. Pikaram your goat. Yeah, but Pikaram was also good in just the GX era. So I would say I probably prefer the GX era over that. Let's go for Squawk, discarding these 4 metal and Dialga V-Star. And just hope we draw into good stuff, because otherwise we're kind of cooked. This is why I like grabbing the Squawk prematurely. Just so we can have these kind of brick hands and still be okay. Oh, there's a second Dialga V-Star. Be careful not to discard that as well. Like there was Dragozard, Lost Box, Guardi, Ancient Box, Roaring Moon, Raging Bolt, Lugia, Pidgeot Control, Snorlax. Oh yeah, there was so much. All of those decks won stuff. Yeah, for sure. Regis was also in that format, right? Although Regis was probably better in EFG when there was still Quick Ball in formats. Actually, Quick Ball was not in formats for EFG either, I think. Never mind. But Regis, Pika Regis was more meme. Well, Regis still won stuff, right? I'm pretty sure it did. Okay, so let's pull back the execute, not the metal energy off the field. Quick Ball for execute. As we have all the pieces we need, quote unquote. I will just grab Dawn Wings Necrozma GX here. It was still a thing, yeah, for sure. I really liked Regis. I felt like Regis was like a cool and balanced archetype, in my opinion. For sure. Okay. Let's go for Trainer's Mail. Ooh, I can find Ultra Ball. I do like Ultra Ball here. Let's propagate, execute once again, and Ultra Ball away, execute, and hold on. I'm down 3 trumpets, or I'm down 1 trumpet, so there's still 3, and I have 6 energy in discard. So I don't want to discard the energy in my hands. So I'll discard my Trainer Mail here. That's smart to do. Actually, it might not be smart to grab. Hold on. It might not be smart to grab Ultra Ball at all here. Did I check what my prizes were? I don't think I did. Oh yeah, it was triple Battle VIP Pass. It was a little silly. Do I grab a Gladion here instead of the Ultra Ball? I probably do grab Gladion just for versatility. You weren't a fan of Regis? Oh, interesting. Now that you said they wouldn't keep Black White XY cards in TCG alive, they wanted to get rid of them. Watch TPCI delete all the cards because that's your luck. At least the PCGL devs are better than the Clash Royale ones. Oh, true! Isn't that a bigger game though? Yeah, it is a bigger game. What's with the resurgence in Clash Royale recently? It never died in the meantime, but Clash is much larger and still like 5 times worse, yeah. Clash Royale just releases broken shit on release, and then a week later it's like, okay, now that everyone has spent money on the broken shit, let's nerf it into the ground. It's so scummy. Yeah, let's attach here and then play the Gladion. Oh, it's probably actually better to once again drop the cards onto. Give me a second. Oh, you can see my ear. That's crazy. It's probably better to grab to play Trainer's Mail first to see what we find off this. This doesn't really change much of anything. I think I still grab. It's tough to say. I think I still grab Ultra Ball off of that. Yeah, let's play Gladion. Gladion for Trumpet. I think. Do I want a Gladion for Trumpet? I need to Ultra Ball something here, so I actually don't grab Trumpet here. I grab like Battle VIP Pass. They announced level 16 yesterday. Oh my god, that's fucking cringe. Dude, level 15 was already egregious. Why would they announce level 16? This is insane. I need to grab Bronzong here. But then again, I'm still not saved from like many a thing here. Unfortunately. They're removing magic books, which you actually gave free-to-play players a slight chance of progression. They're removing magic books? That's crazy. Why would I do that? You spend every update making the game actively worse for the people who don't spend money. Yeah. The Christmas list this year, expanded Black, White, XY support. I hope Father Christmas thinks I've been a good boy. I think you have been a good boy for sure. Wait, what? I'm stupid, by the way. Yeah, no, I should have grabbed the trumpets and not this. Because I can use execute for Ultra Ball discards. I'm stupid. Yeah, I'm still not getting there, but like, at least I should do it properly. You know? Touch here. Yeah, and then use Dawn Wings Necrozma to switch it into the active. And then retreat Dawn Wings Necrozma into the Dene GX, I think is the play. And then pass. And hope that my opponent only KOs the Dene here. In which case we promote you. Dude. This is so cringe. I'm like 1 energy short. 1 energy short on a cool attack here. Do I just go for Overclock? Probably not, right? Because I already burned my Rescue Stretcher. I can't go for Overclock. They're removing Elite Wildcards so that everyone spends 5 months getting enough for 1 level 15 now gets shafted. That's nuts. That is actually insane. What do I push here? What do I hate the least? How many floatstones are in discards? How many switch outs in general are in discards? None, okay. There's none in prizes either, so I feel okay letting this go down. So let's pass again. Let the Dawn Wings Necrozma gets KO'd. And we push Dialga GX and draw for turn. Okay. We do find a Rangaroo, so we can go for a restart. I do find Escape Rope, which is nice. And I do find Bronzong Break. But unfortunately, I have to burn the Escape Rope because I want to research, because I have nothing else to do. Unfortunately, I have to research. Skyfield. There's another Skyfield, and there's also a Floatstone, okay. Oh. We found energy for turn, so that's awesome. Attach that here. I think I'll also attach a Floatstone here. Heavy Ball grabs Crobat, so that's actually relevant. There we go. Now the only card I really care about in my prizes is like Ultra Ball, I guess. I think you're done with Clash when it comes out. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's very valid. I also play it occasionally, but not too much. Probably do want to rip that Ultra Ball. So let's propagate for this Skyfield. We want to rip the Ultra Ball before I go ahead and do Crobat V. I don't think I want to grab the Bronzong though, because that's kind of a dead card. I did this to fit my hands mostly. I don't want to discard the card in my hand, the energy in my hand either, because I want to attach that for turn next turn. So let's play Crobat, trigger the Dark Asset to draw 5 cards. I guess I can filter the Battle VIP pass from my hands. It doesn't draw anything anyway. If teams trying not to actively ruin their games be like looking at you wildcard. Oh yeah, I've heard some shady stuff from there as well. There's Glass Trumpet number 3. Yeet yeet. There's still one more Glass Trumpet in the deck. But for now, let's go for some metal transfer shenanigans. Man, my board is a fucking mess. This is why PTCG Live does look cleaner than my board right here. Let's be real. It does look cleaner than my board right here, but not very easy, or not very hard to do, considering they made a survival game pay to win. Yeah, exactly. Let's Timeless GX for another turn. Attach for turn here. That's for certain. Trainer's Mail. Secret Box. Secret Box is not that good here, actually. I mean, it finds me a Goose for next turn. Of course, Goose price. I don't remember. So in prizes is Heavy Ball, Gladion, Triple, Battle Compressor, and Ultra Ball. So that's not Goose. I think this is good. I think I need Secret Box here. And then we can do Propagate. And then Secret Box all of this. Yeah, for the Goose. And the Glass Trumpets. And that's it. There's no tools or stadiums here. None of these matter anyway, so. I don't think you can even host private servers without paying money now. That's crazy. Fucking Arc Fall Off is indeed insane. That is crazy. Considering you also already have to spend money to play to get the game, it's nuts. Let's Glass Trumpets to Squawk and Terapagos, and then move them towards Active, Hard Retreat, and Metal Transfer everything to the Dialga V-Star. Let's take 2 prizes off of the Star Chronos. Nice. Draw a card for the next turn. Now we can Guzma into Bronzong. And I don't think there's much else in my deck that I can use to win. Unfortunately not. And then we Metal Rain for 300. That's the game. Honestly, it's more consistent. The deck is more consistent than when I tested it yesterday evening. Like, on Simulator. It was it's a lot more consistent than I tested it on. To be fair, I bricked a lot on Simulator yesterday, but it's definitely more consistent now, which is nice. Still like Arc, but yeah, no, it's so cursed. It's so cursed. I wish TCG Live would just hire more developers so that there's... They probably do have a separate developers team for Expanded, right? Surely they do have that, and if they don't, they should definitely hire more. But they pulled the FIFA and re-released the game, Ascended. Oh yeah. Dude, the trailer for Ascended, wasn't that like an AI trailer? It was so cursed. It was so cursed. Better graphics like WeWorks, but somehow kept half the same bugs and added new ones and slapped it with a $70 price tag and added pay to win teams. Yeah. Made private servers cost money. And their announcement trailer was parts of it were AI generated. Which is, or is that another Arc trailer that I'm thinking of? I'm not entirely sure. I think it was Arc Ascended. Which is really funny. Like, it's funny, but I'm crying inside funny, you know? Crying inside funny. Is there an ad gonna be playing soon or not? No, 48 minutes, never mind. We're good. We're so good. I'll probably just snooze this until the end, only if I need to. Alright, I'm probably gonna do like 1 or 2 more games with this. I'm starting to notice my left arm is a little Not used to this. Whatever. Catch me playing Ark before a single EA Sports game, though. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm probably gonna play neither. I've never touched Ark, and I'm glad I never have. I'm never going to, I think. But if I had to choose between either of them, yeah, probably Ark. Okay. This opening hand's a little cursed, but we can make it work. We just open DIALGA GX and put Squawk on bench here. It should be fine. What this deck definitely could need, like I did already say that like there's no metal saucers in the deck and you could consider those. But what the deck actually does need is a second rescue stretcher, I think. Or maybe a super rod or something. Because I feel like playing around the one rescue stretcher that you have can be so debilitating towards your play. You can play the old version on Switch before they ruined the game. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Free servers, no pay to win. Hell yeah. Alright. Let's quick ball away my metal energy here so we can do a deck search. Okay, so I did prize 2 metal, bronzong, trumpets. The other 2 don't really matter. It's a little curse that, once again, trumpet and 2 metal are priced, but we can probably make it work. Probably make it work. Do I own a Switch? I own a Switch 1, yeah. I don't have a Switch 2. Unfortunately. Let's play the Canceling Cologne, and then play Crobat V, draw 4 from the Dark Assets. I think that's correct. Yeah, we find Oranguru. That's kind of big, but I still can't Trumpet here. I guess since we're gonna research anyway, I probably should quick ball this. What do I quick ball for? Is it? It's probably Terapagos or Bronzor. It doesn't really matter because I need to find Bronzong as well. And for the Switch 2 in 2025. I don't know, man. Billionaires. Billionaires probably at this point. Alright, wait, where's the metal energy I discarded earlier? Oh, it's here. I just didn't bother putting it to the side. 4 Pokemon on bench. Floatstoning this for sure. I think I do want to instruct for 1 first. Do I want to Ultra Ball here? I think it's just a research angle. It's fine. Oh, that's a little awkward that I find... Okay, never mind. I was about to say, it's a little awkward that I find second Floatstone now, but... It's more fine that we actually do... Well, this is awkward. This is really awkward, actually. Yeah, because I have Execute in hand as well. Yeah, I have to play Bronzor. Being born into generational wealth would have been so easy, for real, for real. Oh yeah, for certain, for certain. I think I will. Yeah, this is really awkward. We have battle comp. Not gonna help much though. I'm gonna have to play this game without Dawn Wings, unfortunately. You know how Lance Stroll isn't happy all the time because he's the heir to a billionaire and gets to race cars all the day. I guess probably because he hasn't pursued anything in his life ever. He hasn't felt the thrill of pursuit. I think that's definitely a part of happiness, in my opinion. At least that's how I would define part of happiness. Like having something to fight for, something to work for, is definitely, it's like so important. Yeah, I will have to rescue Stretcher the Bronzong into my deck right now because I want to rip the Squawk. This is so goddamn awkward, this hand. This is potentially like the worst 6 cards I could have drawn besides like the Battle Compressor. So let's shuffle. He was happy in F1 until people started clowning on him. Much better than every single person that criticizes him. I mean, that's the case for like most of like high-end sports, right? All the people that criticize you are usually worse at the game than you are. If you're at that high level. Then you will have to ask yourself, like, should I care about all of this or no? Bloodstone to Pagos, I guess. Then Squawk and Seize. Then draw 6. Okay. I really need this Trainer's Mail to hit either Secret Box or Skyfield. Otherwise I'm just cooked. I don't think either of these go into Secret Box or Skyfield, right? Let me just check my prices again. I do have Heavy Ball, but I wanted to check my prices again. Yeah. These also don't have outs to Secret Box or Skyfield. This is just, in general, like, the most awkward turn ever. Unfortunately. I do have the Bronze Song, which is really nice, I guess. I guess I'll grab Ultra Ball off of this so I can Ultra Ball away my Battle VIP passes. Or do I grab Trumpets? Yeah, I do grab Trumpets. Oh, I have to Ultra Ball here. I have to burn my Heavy Ball as well. And then Ultra Ball away my VIP passes, yeah. To get like V-Star, probably break points. The Dene actually, maybe. Yeah. No, it's probably better to grab break than the Dene. He just gotta ignore the haters. Yeah, exactly. Just ignore the haters, it's that easy. Right. Gotta retreat into something useless. Crobat V is the most useless right now, so let's retreat into that and pass. Hope that my opponent only KOs Crobat V. We go back into Dialga GX. Draw for turn. At this point, we probably evolve into this. We Trainer's Mail. Glass Trumpet is better than Quick Ball here, because Quick Ball doesn't really do much for us. Like, yes, I can Quick Ball for the Dene, but I need this Dialga V, and I don't have Recovery anymore. Trumpet for Overclock turn would be better, no. Yeah, the thing is, yes, I could do that, but I burned my Rescue Stretcher already. Like, I had to burn my Rescue Stretcher already, and I have no other recovery for Pokemon in deck. So, if the Dialga GX gets knocked, then I have like no GX attack to pull off, which is a little greedy. I know it's greedy, I know. And if I don't get anything here, I'll surely go for it, for sure. Trumpet. Let's just swap these two for ease of acceleration. Bench the Dialga V and then go for the Instruct. I do find Skyfield. Okay, Skyfield is big. And we can Propagate Execute. And then Quick Ball Execute. Grab. Hold on. Did I discard the other Dialga V-Star? I did not. The other Bronzong is what's in there. Yeah, the other Dialga V-Star is still in here, so I will Quick Ball for the Dene. That's fine. Okay. But finding Skyfield is like so important there, holy moly. Use Dede Change to discard the Dialga and draw 6. Heavy Ball doesn't do anything. Put Ultra Ball to search for more. Probably worth. How many Trumpets am I down? 1. It's just 1, so I do need more metal in discards eventually. So let's Ultra Ball away. Heavy Ball Metal. I think that's probably correct. Grab the Dialga V-Star. last Pokemon in my deck. Yes, I only have one recovery card, one rescue stretcher, and that's it. I couldn't find room for more. Bro's playing like me over here, yeah. Yeah, I'll show you guys the deck list at the end, like in Limitless, and you'll see how little room I even have for recovery. I could potentially consider cutting some cards, but like I said, this list is not optimal whatsoever. Ultra Ball for that. There we go. Then we Trainer's Mail. I haven't supported yet. I could go Gladion, but I really want Glass Trumpet here. I think that's correct. You played Turbo Moon for a year and a half with no recovery at all, don't worry. Yeah, the Turbo Moon does have like 4 of copies of Pokemon. This list does not. This list is like 1 Dialga GX, 1 Dialga V, 1 Squawk, 1 Terrapagos, 1 Oranguru, 1 Bronzong Break, 1 Bronzor, 1 Dene. It's kind of silly. Go for another Trumpet. I do have attachments for turn here. Let's Trainer's Mail first. Okay, so definitely Seeker Box here for sure. I can't play that now, but that's okay. I'm not gonna take the Battle VIP Pass, that's for certain. Let's put the stadium here. I can attach here for turn. And then Metal Transfer. All of this here. Do I have room for all 6 here? Yeah, I do. And then swing with Timeless GX for probably not a KO. Let's assume we don't take a KO here. Bunch of one-ups, perfect deck to put Pokestop in. Yeah. Dude, imagine, I need Skyfield for this deck to function. I drew into Trainer's Mail again. Let's see if what I hit off the Trainer's Mail. We have Retreat into Dialga V here. I do need to play the Dialga V Star, so I can't play the Secret Box. Does Gladion grab me anything meaningful? I'm gonna cheat a little and look at my... I'm sorry. I go Gladion for Glass Trumpets. That's probably not the worst thing in the world. Yeah. I think that's fine. It also burns my supporter for turn. Lucky Pokestop wouldn't even be awful for your Palkia list. You play so many items. Oh yeah. For sure. You could also consider Boxed Order if you want to. I think that's a silly card that you could include. Because you play so many items. Yeah. Gladion for Trumpet feels better than just grabbing Trumpet there. What other cards? Oh yeah. This is a correct decision. I could have Gladion for the metal, but I feel like Gladion for Trumpet is just correct here. Like, I do only accelerate 1, but there's 2 in discard in prizes anyway, so let's destruct for 1. There's another metal. And manually attach. Retreat into the Dialga V, Metal Transfer everything to it, then make it a V-Star, and then do the V-Star power. Draw 2 prizes. I got Gladion Battle Compressor, this is why I wanted to play Gladion. Yeah. Draw 2. Let me search my switch out options. Because I burned Escape Rope, right? No, I burned Guzma. There's still an Escape Rope in deck. That's my only out. I need to find Escape Rope this turn, is basically what I'm trying to say. Box Order is the exact same as every single entry return card. It's shit. But I mean, if you're turn 1 going first, it's not the worst thing to play, right? I need to find Escape Rope here. I can still play Gladion for anything else. I can swap Gladion for a Metal Energy. I'm already down my research, so this is fine. But now I can discard the Metal Energy with my Secret Box. Yeah. I need my escape rope. Do we even grab the sky field here? I don't think I grabbed the sky field here because I have restarts. Actually, I'm slightly throwing. Let me explain you how. We should have propagated execute first and discard execute instead of battle compressor to grab the escape rope. So that we can play the battle compressor to discard metal energy via P-Pass sky fields. I think you guys can see where this is going. Then we play the rope, switch into the Bronzong, transfer everything to the Bronzong. Then we do restart to draw 2 cards from our deck, and now we have access to that glass trumpet. And we can do yoink yoink, move everything to the active with metal transfer, and we have a juicy 9 energy attack here. I keep forgetting that execute is a thing. I should not do that. Considering that you could play Rotom V instead, yes, it's bad. Oh yeah, that's right, you have Rotom V. You're so right. Never mind. Ignore what I said. Hello back, I'm Noah. Probably gonna play one more game with this list and then I'll call it a day. You don't even play Rotom, but you could. Yeah, why would you not play Rotom V? Do you play the Minun? Do you play the Secret Wonders Minun? I'm pretty sure you do, right? I wonder, do you play Fortress EX? Because that card got unbanned recently. Hi Noah, I'm back. Nice to meet you. Love it. By the way, I was thinking strategic. You made a Centiskorch Mill video recently, right? No, Fortress would be extremely redundant. Okay, gotcha. Fair. You made a video recently on Centiskorch Mill and Expanded, right? I think you can cook up some devious shit for maybe Centiskorch Mill in Poké Commander, honestly. I think that could be very cool, especially since you have like Holland's Pokemon and stuff that you can maybe combo it with. You did? You were thinking of building a Whiscash one? Ooh, I have a good standard Whiscash list if you're interested. Oh, this is no basics, by the way. Hello Ellie, hello. Hope you're doing well. How's your day been so far? But yeah, you did Expanded Beta on Centiskorch Mill. Gotcha. I think Poké Commander Centiskorch Mill could be fun as well. You'll probably have to do some type combo. I mean, you could do it with Holland's Cast Form. Preferably you have like either Holland's Electrode or Holland's Magneton with that as well. I did ban Typhlosion. Yeah. But there's other ways to accelerate fire. You have Welder, you have Blacksmith. There's more ways. Whiscash after Lugia rotated is so fake. Yeah, it kind of is. I'm glad to hear you're doing great, Ellie. EU standards. Standard do be a weird format right now, yeah. I'm doing quite alright. It's been a little bit of a long day, but I'm always happy to crank out a few solitaire games here on stream. Especially with such a turbo list like this where you have to think about every single thing. Once again, no basics. That's crazy. I'm gonna have to reshuffle again. Jesus Christ. What about just an Electro build? I mean, that could be. I think he did for that. Oh, for standard Whiscash. Oh, I thought you meant for the. Yeah, I think he did do an Electro build for the Centiskorch. Yeah. Yeah, wait, hold on. There's like a tier 5 deck with Lugia, now it's just not a thing. No, it's definitely not a thing. But at least you have Satitan EX right now, so you can stack all the energies on Satitan EX and it can't get bossed. And then you can just scramble switch everything off. It's It's more of a stall deck that eventually mills your opponent for like 20 cards. So it's really funny, but it's not really that good. Oh, nice. I have Dawn Wings Necrozma GX as starter. That's actually not a bad one at all. Not terrible at all. That's actually pretty good. Okay, let's draw our card for turn. That's a little awkward though. Let's play Quick Ball for Execute. We want Execute in the discard pile anyway. Let's check our deck. I probably want... Well, I have Battle VIP Pass in my hands. Just gonna check how many things are priced. Oh yeah, Bronzor is here. Nice. Dialga GX is here. Crobat is here as well. Am I missing Dialga V or... No, I'm not missing Dialga V. Okay, the V-Star is here. Bronzong is here. Bronzong. So I did price a Dialga V-Star. I think I'm just gonna check the prices to see what is in prices, because I don't feel like price checking. 2 Trumpets, Squawk Mew. Oh, yikes. That's a little cursed. Squawk Mew is really cursed. That means I have to get a Heavy Ball early on. 2 Trumpets, Squawk Mew is really cursed. There's a Gardevoir EX Swoobat Mill deck in Expanded, isn't there? Yeah, there is. That's probably the best Gardevoir build you're gonna get. How am I gonna approach this? I have Battle VIP Pass. I definitely want the Bronzor at the very least, but I'm trying to think of Quick Ball. What I want from the Quick Ball. I think I'll just go Bronzor, and then I'll play Battle VIP Pass to search my deck for 2 basic Pokemon to put on the bench, being the Dialga GX and Serapagos. I think that's the play I have to make. How does that even work? There's a Swoobat. I'm not entirely sure what it exactly does, but it mills cards based on how much Psychic Energy it has attached. And then with the Gardevoir EX in Standard and the Gardevoir that doubles Psychic Energy in play, it just mills a lot. And since it's Gardevoir EX, you can reuse that attack quite a bit. Yeah. For each Psychic Energy attached to this Pokemon, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Yeah, that's what it is. I forgot which exact Swoobat it is, but it's probably like the best Gardevoir build in Standard. Wish Cash on not a shit type. Yeah, practically. Let's play Trainer's Mail to look at the top 4 cards of our deck and grab a trainer card that's not Trainer's Mail from there. This is really awkward because I don't want either Trumpet or Stretcher here. It's really awkward. Yeah, this is not great. This is kind of a brick hands. Unfortunately, I can't really do much here. I think I'm just gonna scoop and play another game because this is a little cursed. Especially the pricing is so cursed, and I probably should have grabbed the NA, but it's oh, Boundaries Crossed Swoobat. Gotcha. Yeah. Gardevoir puts damage on whoever you attach it to. Play something like Hero Escape or something. Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine if your Swoobat gets KO'd, because you can just develop another Swoobat for next turn if you have like a Woobat on bench. And you can just do the whole thing again. That's the thing. It doesn't matter that the Swoobat is damaged, because you can just do it multiple times per game, because it's a single prizer. Yeah. Especially since Gardevoir EX attaches from discard. That's why it's the best Gardevoir deck right now in Expanded. Brody is broken. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a broken card for sure. There's no basics in here. Come on, man. Give me a basic. Please. Fuck that card. I'm gonna be so happy when Guardy rotates, bro. But also not, because Pidgeot EX rotates, and I think that's like one of my favorite cards of all time. I really love Pidgeot EX. Also, Counter Catcher's gonna rotate as well, and Nestball's gonna rotate. Like, that shit's insane. Speaking literally, I would rather not. Yeah. No, that's fair. I share that opinion. I definitely share that opinion. Okay, there's a Squawk here, at least. That's something. Bop bop. Draw for turn. Okay, there's Skyfield and there's Battle VIP Pass. Those are excellent starts to my hand here. This is actually not a bad opening hand. Let's check the prizes. Bronzong Break is here. That's yikes. Dialga V is here. That's yikes. 2 Battle VIP pass. I'm so glad I opened one. I need Gladion at like by turn 3. If I get the whole combo on turn 1, that is. I need Gladion by turn 3. Sorry for the screen shake, by the way. Yes, let me have infinite acceleration from the discard. Very balanced because I can use my attackers over and over. It's a crazy card. You're not disagreeing with me. Yeah. Okay, let's grab Terapagos for sure. Here you are. Already have Squawk, so I think I'm gonna grab Bronzor. Both of you are nasty for thinking of a card that way. Oh, I didn't think of that. I was reminded of that way by Sam. Definitely didn't think of it. Do I want a quick ball for... Question is, do I want a quick ball for Dialga GX or something? Maybe this? Difficult to say. Probably want to grab Dialga GX just for safety purposes. Strategic thought of it. Oh yeah. Sorry bro, I was just trying to be funny. Get your mind out of the gutter. I mean, why would you not fuck a card? If you just got a hole in it, you can do it pretty easy. I'm gonna move this conversation along, sorry. I'm so sorry. Let's Trainer's Mail. Okay, I guess we found Gladion. That's nice. The unfortunate part about this is that I have a Squawk lining up. I'm gonna have to play this Gladion, which is this is gonna be a cursed turn for sure. Gladion for Bronzong. Actually, do I need to? Yeah, I need to Gladion for Bronzong, because if I don't regrab the Gladion off the prizes, I'm fucked. Oh wait, I forgot to shuffle Gladion back. My bad. Go. Yeah. I guess we can Trumpet for 1. And then we can Squawk and Seize. It's so awkward, but I have to do it. There's a Hisuian Heavy Ball, that's something. This gives me access to Dialga V. Some people have to go to church more often, man. Nasty. You know how often I've gone to church in my life? Like one time, and that was for a wedding. Get fucked! Hold on. Battle Compressor. Yeah, sure. Let's grab double metal executes. I am as unholy as people can think. You wish you didn't say anything right now. No. Don't worry. Don't worry. I won't hammer down on the subject. Right, 2 metal and executes. This is a little awkward still, but I can propagate my executes and quick ball execute for the Oranguru, I guess. The Oranguru, quote unquote. There you go. Sam will. No, it's fine. It's fine. The conversation has been conversations. There's nothing to add to it. Give it a big shuffle. Bonk. Need to go to discards. Trumpets. For 2 accelerations. 1 on Terapagos, 1 on the quote-unquote Oranguru. Regrab this for Propagate and Ultra Ball this for... Do I grab Bronzong here? I think I have to grab the Dene or Crobat. I think Crobat has to be played here. I know there's Ultra Balls in prizes, but I need to. Oh, what a nice Oranguru you have there. There's a max rarity one you have there, sir. Yeah. I know. You guys can obviously do what you want. You're grown adults. Exactly. Exactly. As you can see, the text up here. It is indeed an Oranguru. Thank you for noticing. Dark Acid, Gaming. Oh, let's go. Found another Ultra Ball. Necrozma is also a really good find. Can't evolve into Dialga V-Star obviously, but I can propagate again and then Ultra Ball for Execute Metal. And grab the Bronzong. There we go. Or do I grab the Dene here? Is that better? Oh, I have the Dene in hand. Did I discard the other Dialga V-Star? I didn't. Okay, so I just have to find Rescue Stretcher at some point. Oh, whoops. Sorry for the camera shake, by the way. I didn't notice how badly the camera would shake if I shuffled well with my arms on the table. Right. I will again have to trumpet for 1, unfortunately. I did. Oh, no, I didn't use the restart. No, I'm joking. Never mind. Restart, instruct. I do want to instruct for 1 right now, actually. It's a little greedy, but it's so worth. Okay, full bench. Did I GX? Draw another 6 cards. Find Floatstone for the Dawnwings Necrozma. Very nice. Again. Battle Compressor. Only need 1 more Metal Energy and discard officially. I'll discard the Battle VIP Pass as well. And I guess... what else is a dead card? Heavy Ball is a dead card right now. There we go. We'll see. It's just of the utmost importance that I find the Rescue Stretcher next turn. Yeah, these all go to discards from the compressor. What else are we gonna do with his hands? I can rope into Dialga, but I still need attachments for turn. I'm so stupid. I should have... dude. Should have attached this one for turn. I'm just gonna retroactively do that, because fuck you guys. I didn't mean it like that, I'm so sorry. Yeah, let's rope into Dialga GX. And then use Metal Transfer for the juiciest turn 1 Timeless GX you've ever seen. Surely this grabs like 1 prize. Oh, nice. Another Battle Compressor, hell yeah. 1 metal is all I need to discard here. Don't need Bronzong either. And I guess I can discard Floatstones. Well, probably better to discard Goose. There we go. Loki Guardi Swooba might be good in Commander. Honestly, yeah. I don't run Cyrus Prism in this deck now. I could consider running Cyrus Prism, but I'm already fairly tight on space, so I decided not to in this list specifically. I just make it as bare bones as possible. But like make the idea of Trumpet Dialga as bare bones as possible is what I mean. Attach for turn. Evolve into Dialga V-Star. Instruct for 1. Grab, execute. Ultra Ball, execute, and Skyfield. Search my deck for a Pokemon, which is not there anymore. Nope. Okay, just wanted to check. It's like major synergy, no? Mr. Bronzong bench wipe much easier. Yeah, but you do need supporter for turn for that, and as you can see, I'm pretty hamstrung for supporters for turn. As you're noticing, so I'm not entirely sure if that's correct, yes or no. Okay, let's Trumpet for 2 middle. 1 here, 1 here. God, my bench is flying all over the place. I did attach for turn. I'm pretty sure Trainer's Mill won't really grab much here. Yeah, it grabs the Rescue Stretcher, which is really nice. And I will Rescue Stretcher for that Bronzong Break. So I can evolve into Bronzong Break immediately. I'll then use my Necrozma GX's ability to switch it to the active and then retreat into Dialga V-Star. Metal Transfer to it. There's a bunch of cards in hand I can't really play right now, or can play but don't want to. Star Chronos for, let's say, 2 prizes, doesn't really matter at this point. And draw for turn. You take 3 turns in a row, essentially you can find 1 turn. placesiders on any of the... Oh, that's fair. It doesn't have to be on the last turn. You're so right. Attach here. Oh, I forgot to transfer these to the active. Not that it matters. It didn't matter for the Virtue Restore Chronos. There we go. There's a Gladion here. I can play it. I don't think it's gonna have much effect. Grab Quick Ball for funsies. I can't even play the Quick Ball. I have attached return, so I can use Invasion again to do this whole Invasion Metal Transfer combo into the Bronzong Break and once again swing for 270. Yeah, Cyrus Prism is probably fine to find. Fine to play. I'll show you guys the deck list. It's really tight. Deck list is like so incredibly tight. It's not even funny. Let's just grab everything. Low-key considering writing a professional email to the PR contact for TPCI apps and video games about the state of TCG Live and black-white XY card support. Urge is too high right now. Honestly, I can see why. I can see why you could do that. Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you? You do that and get a response, you can clickbait the heck out of it. Free views. Oh, true! Just like Trust Your Violent. Bro's a master of clickbait. He's like, Trust Your Pilot is so good at clickbait, it's not even funny. Right. Anyway, this was the deck. I'll let it be known by this. I'm just gonna roll back to my PC so I can show you guys the list that I played this turn. I did show it at the start of stream, but I can understand if you weren't at the exact start of stream. That shit's difficult to time sometimes. Go. Let's move the mic a little bit closer. Bronzong Break my king. Hell yeah. Let's see. Can I decrease the zoom here? No, it's fine. You guys will have to live with this. Yeah. So this is the list that I have here. As you can see, I have a 1-2 line of the Dialga V-Star, a 1-2 line of the Bronzong with 1 Bronzong Break, 1 Crobat, 1 Dedenne, 1 Dialga GX, 1 Execute, 1 Dawnwings Necrozma, 1 Oranguru, 1 Squawk, 1 Tarapagos, then a 1/1/1 Gladion Guzma Research, then 4 Battle VIP Pass, 4 Trumpet, 4 Trainer's Mail, 4 Ultra Ball, 3 Compressor, 3 Quick Ball, 2 Heavy Ball, 1 Cologne, 1 Escape Rope, 1 Rescue Stretcher, 1 Secret Box, 2 Floatstone, 2 Skyfield, and 10 Metal Energy. You can't really see the bottom 2, but that's not for you to see. You'll do it tomorrow because I'm tired AF. Oh my god. The procrastination strikes. Personally didn't really fancy this list today, sorry Noah. That's fair. Not everyone is into Hyper Aggro Turbo. And like I said, you can probably improve this list by adding Metal Saucers, maybe 1 more Rescue Stretcher, Cyrus Prism Star, but I truly do not know what to cut from this list. Because like Trumpet is so goddamn good, but you ideally need more energies in this deck if you want to do Quad Trumpet, Quad Saucer. So maybe like 1 Metal Saucer is like fine. But then once again, you probably have to cut either for consistency or for specific matchups. Like if you can cut Canceling Cologne and Escape Rope, but you're not gonna have a great time against stuff like Wobbuffet or Iron Thorns. But if you cut stuff like Trainer's Mail or Ultra Ball, because there's 4 copies of those, or Execute, you're really gonna struggle optimizing your turns every time. Not gonna lie. It's really hard to optimize this list. Because I do think the supporters is like the minimum I could have done. For now. Low key. Can't you play Trainer Lockout on live format? Trainer Lockout? Do you mean EvoCon? Is that what you mean with Trainer Lockout, EvoCon? If that's what you mean, no you can't, because Bunnelby and the other Omega Mirage Pokemon are Gen 6 Pokemon. Or Gen 6 cards. So you definitely cannot do that, unfortunately. Right, I'll turn off the music for now because I'm gonna go look for someone to raid. Limwood, Reflip, Victini V reprint, and Headache Psyduck. So Sam, yeah, I'm aware those are all in the card pool, but first and foremost, Strixcoin is not in the card pool because that's a Gen 5 card. But the Victini is a I don't think I think the Victini is a Gen 5 card as well. But Headache, Psyduck, and Glimwood are in card pool, but the sad unfortunate thing about this is that they don't stack. Like, Victory Star Victini is in live. Oh yeah, I got reprints in Gen 7, you're right. Or was it Gen 8? I don't remember. Yeah. It was originally printed in Gen 5, but it got reprinted later. I forgot about that. But they don't stack, is the thing. Like, if you use, for example, the Victory Star ability to reflip on an attack, you can't then also reflip afterwards with Glimwood. So that's unfortunately it doesn't stack. You can't reflip multiple times, unfortunately. Yeah, I understand you said reprints, but like the original Victini got printed like twice as well, like once in. But I mean, they had the same text, of course, so it's technically not a reprint, but it's like they had the same text but just different art. So that's why I thought 75% chance for chain lockout. True. Yeah, I'm gonna end stream. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna go look for someone to raid. Once again, thank you so much, guys, for hanging out here today. Thank you for raising awareness for Movember by hanging out here. I appreciate all of you lots. Let's see if anyone else is live on the Movember front. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, 75% is nice. You could also go for Will Psyduck, probably. Like, you do have to use Supporter for turn, but you get the guaranteed trade and lockout. That's probably better. I still don't think that's very good, but I think that's better, maybe. I think it's better, but it's not incredibly awesome. Let's see. I don't think anyone is live right now for... We can raid into some Silk Song. Unfortunately, no one is live right now for Movember, at least from our fundraising group. So, yeah, we can go raid into Lee. Lee is at the High Holes Arena. Oh boy, this is the perfect time. Right, thanks everyone so much for hanging out, and talk to you guys next, I think Saturdays when we'll do the Commander game of this week. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I'll keep you guys up to date in the Discords. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Hold on, I'm cooking. Hildegast v. Will. I'm honestly curious to see what you will cook up with this, but I'll be on stream right now. Talk to you guys later. Bye.